will begin our open session here with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you, everyone. It was nice to not be doing that alone on Zoom, so much appreciated. All right, so next we'll have roll call. Vice President Mason. Here. Trustee Mayo. Here. Trustee McFerrin. Here. Trustee Alas. Here. And we have Trustee Nzewi on the speakerphone there. We're going to see if we can point the microphone over there to hear her. All right. Okay. All right. Thank you. Trustee Nzewi is here as well. Okay, great. All right, so next we have 6.2, review and potential approval of the agenda. Trustees and Dr. Clark, does anyone have any changes or movements of items on the agenda?
I would make the motion that we approve the agenda as presented.
Okay, thank you. Motion by Trustee Mason, second by Trustee Mayo. We'll put that to a vote. Trustee Alas? Yes. Trustee Mason?
Yes.
Trustee Mayo?
Yes.
Trustee McFerrin?
Yes.
And Trustee Nzewi?
Here, yes.
Thank you. All right, motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. All right, so report out on our actions taken in closed session. 7.1 negotiations. The board may discuss negotiations or provide direction to its representatives regarding represented employees pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. The board received information and provided direction. Item 7.2, discipline, dismissal, release, or reassignment of public employee, Government Code Section 54957B1. The governing board received information and provided direction. Item 7.3, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, Government Code Section 54956.9. Mastrangelo v. Mount Diablo Unified School District. The board approved the agreement between Mastrangelo and Mount Diablo Unified School District with a vote of 5-0. That takes us to public comment. Item 8.1, public comment. The public may address the board regarding any item within the jurisdiction of the Board of Education of the Mount Diablo Unified School District, items that are not on the agenda. So there are yellow comment cards right outside the door if you missed that. We do have some comment cards up here, but I believe there are none for item 8.1. Is that correct? Okay, so we do have some voicemails to play, 3 voicemails. If you could please play those recordings. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Liz Herring and I'm a teacher at Concord High. Tonight I am commenting about a few things. First, I would like to encourage members Mason, Mayo, and McFerrin to read and respond to an email I sent regarding the proposed plan for distance learning this fall. The proposed plan is not appropriate for our community and discourages some students from continuing a form of education that has been beneficial for them. When we find new and unique ways for students to access education, we should do everything we can to continue if they are successful. While online learning has not been ideal for many students, there are also some who have thrived under this model who would like to continue learning this way, be it full-time or part-time. Eliminating connection to their school and removing opportunities to participate in sports, clubs, dances, activities, and more is not appropriate. Students shouldn't be forced into isolation simply because they found that they were more successful in online education. There are ways to connect a distance learning academy with a school so that students can participate in school culture and community while learning remotely. Next, following the budget proposals from Governor Newsom, I implore you to encourage the district to provide Medea members with a much needed and well-deserved COLA increase. To illustrate this need, allow me to give you a glimpse into my life. In 2017, my 12-year-old car broke down. After fixing it, I decided that once we signed our new contract and I got the raise that I thought we deserved, I would buy a new car. 2017 came and went, and negotiations for our new contract ended up dragging out for 2 years. In December of 2019, there was finally a light at the end of the tunnel. The union and district negotiating team had come to an agreement which included a raise. Hooray! I voted to approve that contract and excitedly began to research new cars. Then January passed with no ratification, then February. Then the pandemic hit and we didn't see a ratification. A pared down, sad version of the contract with no raise was approved in summer of 2020. Here we are in May of 2021, 4 years after I decided that with a raise, I could be able to afford a new car. My car is now 16 years old. I've had my car longer than my freshman students have been alive. Because of the excessive cost of living in the Bay Area, coupled with inflation and rises in my rent costs, it's not possible for me to buy a new car unless I'm paid more than I am currently. I encourage you to visit the parking lots of our local high schools and compare the student lots and staff lots. Generally, students are driving nicer, newer cars than the professionals responsible for their education. We do more with less in every aspect of our lives, from the classroom to our homes and our transportation. Again, I encourage you to push for an overdue.
Hi, my name is Amanda Sockhardt, and I'm a family literacy teacher here in Mount Diablo. And I would just like to ask that the board join me in wishing our Muslim students a happy Eid al-Fitr, and also to express solidarity with our students from Afghanistan who are dealing with the loss of many school children, girls who were killed in a bombing this week in Afghanistan. Thank you.
Hi, this is public comment for the May 12th meeting. Hi, this is Craig Yen, and I'm a teacher in the district, a 5th grade teacher in the district, and I've taught in the district for over 18 years. Now, just wanted to address negotiations and just thinking about a timeline. As of now, even though teachers and the other units have sent in their sunshine agreements, and the district has put out theirs as well, I have seen no indication of any bargaining dates set forward. As you know, our school year ends on June the 2nd, and the contracts for each of these bargaining units typically will run until June 30th. And our expiration on these is this year. Our last contract cycle lasted for 18 months. This is Media's. 18 months of negotiations before we reached agreement. That's 18 months without a contract. You talked about, Dr. Clark, about making this a destination district. You talked about changing that relationship between employees and the district, showing that you care for your employees, that you value your employees. Your actions speak louder than words. Set a timeline to get negotiations done so that we are not working without a contract.
All right, thank you very much. That concludes public comment. All right, item 9.0, communications. 9.1, district organizations. At regular board meetings, a single spokesperson of each recognized district organization may make a brief presentation. Items are limited to those which are informational. Do we have any speakers for item 9.1? We do. Okay, sorry, we didn't have a yellow card, so we weren't aware of it. Come on up. There you go. Oh, yes, turn on the mic. Right now.
So, yeah.
We're all getting used to these systems again, aren't we?
There we go.
All right,
A little
welcome.
rusty. Let's see if we can do this. But I do want to say good evening. And first, actually, let me start by saying that it is very good to see everybody back in person. I gotta admit, it was nice listening in my shorts with my earbuds on while getting my gardening done. But this is much more personable, and obviously, it's a very positive step forward, I think, for the district, considering everything we've gone through this year. Tonight, I would like to speak on item 17.1, a stipend for all employees of the district that recognizes all the good work and efforts that have been made and are still being made above and beyond their normal duties. I want to applaud the district for changing their stance on this issue, but I'd also like to challenge them to go a step further. I know equity is a goal for the district, and I know it's something that you're striving for. So I'd ask tonight that the stipend not be tied to an FTE, but to the person that's performing the work. After all, Gloria does not give 6.25% of her heart. She gives it all. Teresa does not put a 0.875 effort in. She puts in 100%. In fact, quite frankly, they all give much more than that. You can see it here. Over the last year and during the pandemic, our members have gone above and beyond to serve the children of this district and the community. Our custodians have been tasked with not only keeping sites clean, but safe. Our bus drivers have been delivering food, not just children, in an effort to reach greater lengths. Those are just a few examples of what our members have been and are doing this here tonight. Thank you. Every single Teamster working at Mount Diablo has played a vital role in one way or the other. Please recognize these efforts. Please remove any stipulation that would give reduced stipend to some when it's truly all that deserve this recognition. And I thank you for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other district organization speakers? All right, thank you very much. Okay, so that takes us on to recognition and resolutions. This is item 10.1. We'll begin with a review and potential approval of resolution 2021-67 for Mental Health Awareness Month. And I turn it over to you, Dr. Clark.
Now that it's off. So tonight we're recognizing May as Mental Health Awareness Month. And so I have before the board resolution 20/21-67. And again, just for our audience, in case they are not aware, is that because of our length of time and the number of resolutions that we bring before the board, I just read the beginning and the end and then open it up to the board for comments. And so, whereas May 7th, 2021 has been designated National Children's Mental Health Awareness Day to raise awareness of issues surrounding people, particularly children with mental health concerns. And whereas mental health is essential to everyone's overall health and well-being, affecting how everyone thinks, feels, and acts. It also helps determine how everyone handles stress, relates to others, and makes choices. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Mount Diablo Unified School District recommits our educational community to increasing awareness and understanding of mental health, the steps our children and adolescents can take to maintain their mental health, self-advocacy, and the need for appropriate and accessible services for all people, and approves the designation of the month of May as Mental Health Awareness Month. and Friday, May 7th, 2021 as National Children's Mental Health Awareness Day. I now put this resolution in the hands of the board.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Clark. Do we have a motion?
I will make a motion that we approve Resolution 20/21-67 for Mental Health Awareness Month. Second.
All right, thank you. Motion by trustee Mason, second by trustee Mayo. I would also like to thank trustee Nzewi, who's on the speakerphone over here, for all of her work in developing this resolution. So is there any discussion? And perhaps we can see if trustee Nzewi wanted to speak as well. Trustee Nzewi? Okay, I think she's listening on the live stream. She is, and there's a bit of a lag on the live. Oh, there she is.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, there is a lag because I have to listen online because I can't hear you on the phone, but I'm really excited about this resolution. Mental health and mental well-being is extremely important to me as it impacts my family deeply. And so I was really proud and excited to find community to help craft this resolution. And so I know that after this, there will be speakers. And so for the first time ever, I don't have words because I'd rather them have all the time.
All right, thank you very much, trustee Nzewi. Any other discussion? Trustee Ellis.
Thank you so much, trustee Nzewi, for putting in so much work in this resolution. As a high school student, I've been surrounded by classmates and have experienced firsthand the strain that mental health issues can place on something as fundamental as receiving a quality education. According to the CDC, 7.1% of students aged 3 to 17 have diagnosed anxiety, and 3.2% are diagnosed with depression. In other words, there are over 430,000 students with diagnosed anxiety and nearly 200,000 students with diagnosed depression. Moreover, the current prevalence in data is likely an underestimation of youth actually suffering from mental health conditions, given barriers such as the stigma and reaching out for help, limited access to care, and underreporting, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. Mental health crises, which often disproportionately affect those at socioeconomic disadvantage or who are discriminated against for race, ethnicity, disability, etc., may be exacerbated by the disequilibrating and isolating effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. That is why, and I've suggested this, I brought it up a bit before with Dr. Clark and trustee Cound about creating mental health days in the absence code of our schools in the same way that a personal illness allows a student to be excused from school, because this recognizes that a mental illness can be as debilitating to a student's performance as what is considered a conventional illness. So I'm looking forward to hopefully working alongside my board members to bring forward a resolution that also recognizes this in the absence code of our schools.
Thank you, trustee Ellis. Any further discussion? All right, we'll take it to a vote. Trustee Ellis.
Yes.
Trustee Mason.
Yes.
Trustee Mayo.
Yes.
Trustee McFerrin.
Yes.
And trustee Nzewi. I also vote yes. Motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. Thank you, everyone. Did we have someone here to receive this resolution? Come on up.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Marcy Torres, and I'm the school counselor at Shore Acres.
Hi, everyone. My name is Patricia Hamachi. I'm a 4-5 combo teacher at Shore Acres.
Our mental health is important because it's a state of well-being, which includes our feelings, thinkings, emotions, and our moods. These are things that none of us can see, but we're all going through them. We have our good days and we have our bad days, and that's all part of life, and it's all part of having a healthy mental health. We're all different and react different to these everyday situations and have been coping with them in our own way. Having conversations about mental health is important because we are bringing up awareness to this topic. And through these conversations, we can learn about coping strategies, or it's also a way to help release and feel good about ourselves. The first step in managing our emotions is to recognize them. And how can we recognize them and normalize them if no one ever talks about them? For this month of May, Mental Health Awareness Month, I have been going into every single classroom at my site, TK to 5th grade, talking about mental health. And I always start off by asking the students, do you guys know what mental health is? And no one ever knows what mental health is. My 4th and 5th graders have somewhat of an idea, but even they don't fully understand what mental health is. Mental health is important at every stage of life. So it's not only going to affect them as children, but as they get older, become adolescents and adulthood. If we start talking about it now, we can learn to help them, and we can learn, or they can learn to help themselves and advocate for their own feelings and their emotions. So this isn't just something that we need to talk about one month, but every day, I think. And so by having this month designated to mental health, I think it's the right step in the right direction and to bringing awareness to something so important. Like she mentioned earlier, there's a lot of kids and students going through a lot that we don't know about, and kids don't fully feel comfortable. But if we start talking about them now, they'll end up being comfortable and confident expressing how they're feeling. Thank you.
And so thank you, Marcy, for visiting all of our classrooms at Short Acres. But also I wanted to share my pronouns are she, her, hers. And I'm an elementary school teacher who is just one piece of the educational system that we are a part of. In this educational system, I support my students' mental health in my classroom, but I also get support from my admin, from my school counselor, from my school psychologist, and for all of my care team. And at our school, we have created a system of support, not only for our students, but for all the educational professionals that work with our students, so that when our students are having a mental health emergency, they can get the support they need, as well as helping me to support my students daily and have preventative measures so that they can discuss their feelings, so they can ask for help and reach out and know many different ways to reach out for help. We have created this effective system for mental health support. And by adopting this resolution as a district, we are reconfirming our commitment to supporting our systems that we have in place that support our students. And I know I said support many times, but that is what it's going to take at every level to help our students maintain their mental health, not only in this time, but beyond. So thank you very much for bringing this forward.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be able to hear some specific examples of how this is in action on our school site. So thank you, much appreciated. And congratulations on your award, Ms. Amachi. All right. Next, we go to item 10.2, review and potential approval of resolution 2021-68, Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Dr. Clark.
Yes, so this is resolution 20/21-68, and recognition is May as Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Months. Whereas the U.S. Census Bureau reports over 23 distinct Asian American and over 19 distinct NHPI, which is Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander ethnic groups, including Asian Indian, Bengali, Burmese, Cambodian, Chinese, Filipino, Guamanian, Hawaiian, Hmong, Indonesian, Japanese, Korean, Lao, Malayan, Okinawan, Pakistani, Samoan, Thai, Vietnamese, and others. And whereas in the Mount Diablo Unified School District, 12.8% of the student populations are identified as Asian, Filipino, or Pacific Islander, the third highest demographic, yet studies have found that the academic needs of Asian American and Pacific Islander students are frequently overlooked. So now, therefore, be it resolved by the governing board of the Mount Diablo Unified School District that the month of May is designated as Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month and calls on all schools to commemorate this occasion accordingly with appropriate instructional materials, discussions, presentations, and projects. And be it further resolved that this executed resolution be distributed to all schools within MDUSD. I now place this in the hands of the board.
Thank you very much, Dr. Clark. All right, do we hear a motion on this resolution?
I motioned to pass Resolution 20/21-68, Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage. Second.
All right, motion by trustee Alla, second by trustee McFerrin. Is there any discussion?
I can start. I know we had a resolution a couple of board meetings ago regarding the recent uptick in hate crimes against the AAPI community. And this is something that is very real and that has been happening for very many decades. This is this has historical precedent given the immigration of many Asian Americans to the United States and the plethora of inequities and disadvantages that this community has faced. I am happy that this resolution also in the whereas mentions the history that accompanies the AAPI community and their history in the United States. And I look forward to this being a stepping stone in teaching about culture and heritage inside the classroom.
And I would just add that whenever we have one of these resolutions about one of the amazing cultures we have here, we value it every single day, and it should be in our curriculum all the time. And this is just to bring attention to it for that moment in time.
Thank you, trustees Alas and trustee Mason. Any other discussion? This also was brought forward, thank you, to trustee Nzewi. So I'm not sure if she had a comment on this one as well.
Trustee Nzui?
Thank you. I'm so excited to have had the opportunity to again work in community with MDUSD amazing staff on this resolution as well. And I appreciate the words of my fellow trustees, especially as we are establishing over just the course of a few short months, this tradition of, as trustee Mason just said, of honoring just the immense diversity of cultures in our district. As we already, I would encourage people to go back to my words during a couple meetings ago when we passed the resolution against anti-Asian hate, to really acknowledge just the vast historical figures that we have, especially in California, Asian American history. And then again, also to read this and the other resolution completely, because they're both just filled with really amazing facts. This one in particular, specific to California, specific to our own community. And I hope that our school sites take it to heart and spread the news throughout their classrooms. So I'm very happy, and thank you so much to the staff who helped create this. And I'm very happy to vote yes.
Thank you very much, trustee Nzewi. All right, we'll move this to a vote. Trustee Alas.
Yes.
Trustee McFerrin.
Yes.
Trustee Mason.
Yes.
Trustee Mayo.
Yes.
And trustee Nzewi. I also vote yes. Motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. Thank you so much. Dr. Clark, was there anyone that was here to receive that one as well? Come on up.
Hello, I am Leslie Amar Harris, counselor at Riverview Middle School in Bay Point. Thank you, Superintendent Clark, President Cound, and trustees. With the help of Trustee Nzewe, this resolution was possible. As a proud first-generation Filipino American, I'm so excited to have the opportunity to be part of today's acceptance of Resolution 20/21-68, recognizing May 2021 as the Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month.
Hi, I'm Adria Wong from the Equity and Disproportionality Department at MDUSD. I would also like to thank Superintendent Clark, President Count, and all the trustees, especially Trustee Nzewe, for your guidance. As a proud second-generation half Chinese American, I am also excited to participate in the acceptance of the resolution 20/21-68 after a 2-year gap of recognition of May as Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month.
Over the last year, we have all struggled to change and adapt to this new way of living and working. Moving from socializing to isolating, from in-person to online, we have all been tested to see how strong we truly are. It has been significantly difficult for my AAPI brothers and sisters as the increase in hate crimes has risen during this pandemic.
During this last year, based on hate crimes reported to Stop AAPI Hate organization, AAPI hate crimes have increased by more than 74% compared to previous years, totaling to over 6,603 reported incidents. 12.6% of these incidents have involved physical assault, which does not include the 6 Asian women who were murdered in Georgia. Many of these incidents go unreported and unrecognized, similarly to our AAPI students who are frequently overlooked and underserved resources within our schools. Many organizations have been formed to help combat bias and racism against AAPI communities throughout the nation.
Organizations like Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders in Philanthropy, Stop AAPI Hate, Asian Americans Advancing Justice, and the Center for Asian Pacific American Women are helping the AAPI community through their advocacy and social justice platforms. At MDUSD, it's our hope that our schools are striving to work on equitable practices like hiring more people of color and finding curriculum to help students see themselves in their learning. It's important that we remember, learn, and teach all of our history so that we might move forward and better our community and education. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. That takes us to item 11.0, public employee appointment. 11.1 is review and potential approval of DMA classified management position, Director of Maintenance and Operations. Dr. Clark.
Great, and staff is going to come to present this item.
And if more people are coming in the door, just know that there are some empty seats up front here. So if you need a seat, feel free.
Good evening. We're presenting to you tonight for your review and potential approval of a DMA classified management position, which is actually a realignment, part of a realignment of 2 positions that already exist, as Director of Maintenance and Operations, which is a slight difference in title and duties than what we have had for the last 8 months. Did you want to add? Yeah.
So tonight, staff is making the recommendation for the appointment of Melanie Kozlow. Melanie has been with the district for 8 years. She started here as a construction manager. She then departed temporarily to take a project manager role over at Chabot Las Positas. She has then been back with us as the assistant director, and back in November, she was moved into the position of Director of Facilities and Bonds. However, due to a retirement, the Director of Maintenance and Operations is now coming open, and we would like to move her into that position. Really, since everything with COVID started a little over a year ago, she's really managed all of it. She has set higher expectations for all of the team over in maintenance and operations, and certainly facilities as well. She led the charge to automate the work order system late in the spring of last year, and we've seen a marked improvement in the quality and the quantity of the work orders being completed. And for anybody who doesn't know, there is now a running list. There's a dashboard, if you will, on the business services page that lets you see all of the work orders and the time that they've been opened. And so by moving her into this position and then hiring for the Director of Facilities and Bonds, it gives us an opportunity to really play to her strengths and to hire somebody else into that other position. So again, the recommendation this evening is the appointment of Melanie Kozlow as the Director of Maintenance and Operations.
Thank you very much. Do I hear a motion?
Madam President, I would move that the Board of Education approve Melanie Kozlow as the Director of Maintenance and Operations for the district.
I'll second that.
All right, thank you. Motion by trustee Mayo, second by trustee Mason. Any discussion? All right, we'll take that to a vote. Trustee Ellis,
Yes.
trustee Mayo,
Yes,
trustee Mason,
Yes,
trustee McFerrin,
Yes.
trustee Nzewi, trustee Nzewi.
Yes.
Yes, I also vote yes. Motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. Congratulations, Melanie Kozlow.
Thank you. And as is tradition, we can
come
have her
on
say
up.
a few words.
Absolutely.
Good evening, all. I just want to say thank you very much for the appointment to the Maintenance and Operations Director. As you know, it has been my pleasure to serve this district for 8 years, except I like to say 10 because I actually joined 10 years ago, but I did leave for a little while, but I tried not to count that. I just feel like, I love this district so much. I love all of my people that work under me. I could never be who I am without all of them. I hope that I encourage them the way that they encourage me, and I hope that we can continue to have a great solid relationship with all of our school sites, our communities, and I hope that our Mount Diablo community feels that I'm the right person for this position to run it long term. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Melanie Kozlow. All right, that takes us to reports and information 12.0. 12.1 is California Collaborative for Educational Excellence, CCEE presentation on the Systematic Instructional Review Report and Recommendations. Dr. Clark.
So we have a presentation that I see our team is working, and I'm going to bring up the CCEE team, and they're going to introduce themselves, but let me go make sure that they are situated.
Thank you, Superintendent. Sure. Well, good evening. This is on, good. Mask stuff, right? Good evening, everyone. My name is Matthew Roberts. I'm a senior advisor with the CCE, the California Collaborative for Educational Excellence. I'd like to say good evening to Board President Cowan, Superintendent Clark, and members of the board. Thanks for having us here tonight. Feels like we've been here for a few months to sort of conduct some studies and some data collections and things like that. So we want to present those items to you tonight. So we're very happy to be here. Joining me this evening is my counterpart from the CCEE. It's Dr. Jenny Wright.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Jenny Wright. I'm a senior manager with the CCEE, and it's nice to see you all in person and not on a screen. So thank you very much for having us.
It is really exciting. We've been talking to folks online for so long now. It's sort of the first time that we've been able to meet folks. So I guess that's a recurring theme this evening, but happy to be here. Just want to do a shout out to the team members that were initially part of the, just the SIR process coming in, the Systemic Instructional Review. Of course, the superintendent and his staff, but also our county office, a partnership with Contra Costa County under Superintendent Lynn Mackey. And I know on the phone tonight on the Zoom is Nicholas Ziefelt from her staff tonight. So we just want to know that we're trying to wrap around you here. Just wanted to do a thank you though for all of the openness to the district and our ability to sort of openly ask questions, things like that. So thank you for that. This is the team that is sort of wrapped around you from the CCEE. And of course, Dr. Wright and myself are here tonight. Also on the phone is Dr. Wheaton, Craig Wheaton, who is actually one of our researchers that conducted a major part of the study. And we'll sort of continue on with the district sort of in a liaison role. So you'll see his name sort of pop up, and just want to say hi to Craig tonight. So this is what we're going to cover in this brief period of time. Just the report is done. The SIR, the Systemic Instructional Review, is completed as of March 31st, 2021. Yay. So we wanted to go over just what the continuum of support looks like in terms of bringing in CCEE, what the actual report says in terms of high level, and we know you've had a few weeks to sort of review it and to come up with questions, things like that. So we're really excited to be in front of you to discuss it tonight. And then what are our next steps in terms of the process? You know, how do we continue to progress monitor and to advise and assist the district as the sort of the work goes forward? This is an exciting time. There's a lot of exciting things happening in education. There's a lot of movement and a lot of opportunity that exists. And so we see that sort of evident within the data and such, which we're happy to share with you tonight. So we'll go on to the next one. So in terms of continuum of support, we're authorized under Education Code 52072, which basically says if a district has 3 student groups or more that are performing sort of in that red category, according to the state dashboard for 3 consecutive years, then it sort of flags us to say, is there something that we can be of assistance to? And so we'll talk about the student groups tonight, because I think that's the focus of our work and wanting to make sure that we're assisting the district to sort of move forward. So part of the work that we're doing is, of course, the systemic and structural review. That's the big one. It took us about 3 months after we reconnected to the district after COVID and all the other stuff went on. Again, thank you to your principals, to all of the folks that really contributed to, you know, the report itself, to answering our interview questions, et cetera. And we'll recognize them a little bit more tonight as we go on. So the CCE reports the ongoing progress on the implementation of the recommendations at this point. So you have your recommendations, and it's sort of written in such a way that there's a SWOT analysis. And it's those sort of action steps that will begin to sort of say, hey, how can we prioritize that? How does it align with your LCAP? How does it align with the many other plans that the state is asking you to do right now, and not wanting to sort of add to that, but to be part of your mission and vision as you're moving forward? Because some of these action steps, they're hitting you on a ground level, and they're probably things that you're already thinking of. And so hopefully that resonated with you when you read the report. It's some ahas, perhaps some, you know, some, oh yeah, that's true. So again, the aim of the systemic instructional review is to inform your instructional efforts, to really begin to give you some air cover as well as a board, as an administrative staff, but also in dealing with the great autonomy that takes place within this district. It's how does it all sort of work together? So we hope to inform those processes really leading towards student achievement and gain. So, all right, this is the continuum of support. We put a lot of slides in here, a lot for your reference, because we, you know, wanting to meet the board packet. 52072 is again the education code, and we're triggered when there's student groups that are not performing at the level. There are sort of processes that we'll continue to follow. One thing that we'll do is we'll check in with the district. We'll check in with them often, but about 3 or 4 times a year, there'll be check-in points or quarterly updates, if you will, and we'll go over what those dates are. And basically, we're here to see movement, right? We're here to, on behalf of the Board of Education, on behalf of your community, we're here to make sure that we're supporting your students as we move this forward. So a lot of this is legalese, but we just are here to see progress and then build capacity where we can. Bandwidth is another huge issue. We know that folks are stretched. We know that coming out of the COVID environment, it's really stretched your teams. So we want to wrap around that and just say, and you know, how can we sort of see continuous movement on it? So anyway, these are here for your reference. I'm going to talk a little bit about the data gathered now. Yeah.
So the first slide that you see is ultimately the 3 student groups that did qualify Mount Diablo for the SIR review. So you'll see that differentiated assistance began in 2016-17, continued into 17-18 and into 18-19, which is the last year we have information for. The three focus student groups were African American, homeless youth, and foster youth. And the priority areas list the dashboard indicators in which they fell in the red for 3 of those 4 consecutive years. So for each group, there's some overlap and slight difference. So our African American students qualified in pupil engagement and school climate, homeless youth, pupil achievement, pupil engagement, and school climate, foster youth, pupil achievement, school climate, and outcomes in a broad course of study. Through the SIR process, just a summary of all of the data and activities that were completed. So as Dr. Roberts highlighted, this process began pre-COVID, and there were some interviews that were conducted and some site visits that began to happen, and then the world shut down. And we restarted the process again in the fall and felt it would be really good to just start over. So we did take that data that was initially gathered in 2019 and added it to the data that was collected in 2021. So we conducted a total of 21 empathy and individual interviews with various members throughout the systems. Again, thank you to all of you for making time in your schedules for us. We conducted 18 different focus groups with a number of folks, principals, advisory groups, parents, students, counselors. We tried to get as many representatives as we can. And we visited 14 of your sites. So we did come in virtually, obviously, because everybody was not in person. So we visited virtually 6 elementary schools, 5 middle schools, and 3 high schools. And within those saw over 100 different classrooms between those 14 sites. So once we gathered all that data and did a triangulation and analysis of not only the data that was gathered through interviews and focus groups and site visits, but also a number of artifacts were collected, we saw 4 themes emerge within the report. And those 4 themes were coherence, equity, accountability, and autonomy. And I'm going to turn it back to Dr. Roberts to now go through the slot.
We were really excited to see the themes emerge so strongly within the data and to so clearly sort of paint a picture, if you will, or give us a lens to look through. Part of what we do is a SWOT analysis, which is a strength, weakness, opportunity, threat. We like to take the threat and maybe move it up and call it a SWOTO or something like that, perhaps. But I always want to end on opportunities, right? So we thought we'd include in the PowerPoint just a few high-level findings that came through on that, and you can kind of see their relationship to some of the themes as they emerged as well. Really, the data collection process that Dr. Wright spoke about, we go through a lot of triangulation of those data sets to make sure that we see a very clear picture. Hence, the data, the sample sizes that we use were sufficient for the work that we did. So here are the strengths. Sorry, it's a little murky for the folks in the audience. I'll read a couple of them. Really want to highlight the assets that are currently in your district. You have a lot of assets to work with, and you know that. You know, I'm singing to the choir here, but I think that the diversity alone in the district, the naming of the languages that Dr. Clark did earlier. I mean, just so many rich things to sort of build on and to leverage with your students. There's an atmosphere of hope around, of course, our new superintendent and also the direction that's taking place. We heard that abundantly through our interview processes. Also, the equity department in facilitating trainings, especially with the principal cohorts and at each of the sites. That's a sort of something that we think very highly of, and that has great potential within the district itself. Also, there's an acknowledgement of the need to develop more coherent systems. In other words, how things sort of talk to each other, how information gets out. We know that the superintendent does a weekly sort of email address that goes out. And so it's those types of communication pieces. With the input of faculty and teachers on staff, the district has developed priority standards in a number of areas, TK5, middle school English language arts and mathematics, high school, English language arts, mathematics, history, social sciences, and science. So lots of really good pieces to build on in terms of the coherence of your instructional model. Does that make sense? And then the last one is just, again, prioritizing standards and scope. There is one that exists for the entire district, which is a lot to build on. Took a lot of work for your faculty to do that in your staff. In terms of weaknesses, we'll see this a lot. It's like not a shared understanding and agreement across the district, making sure that, as you're espousing your strategic plans and your LCAP goals and those pieces, how those sort of cascade out and how we can sort of, help with that sort of process. A culture of school autonomy presents a richness to the district, but we heard often that sometimes it's seen as an obstacle. And so, we felt like we wanted to put that down, just because it's something that you reconcile with, right? This is how the district culture runs. And so, but just wanted to sort of point that out in terms of what we were hearing. Student achievement data is not something that's regularly discussed throughout. And so what are these? These are just indicators of conversations, consistent conversations. And so the comments that we're making here are very specific, and so they're designed just to sort of get discussion going, if you will. And then lastly, just some of the dialogue that goes out. My experience and our experience has been that you can try your best, but still sometimes communication doesn't get out. And it's something that I think always needs to sort of be as a priority. I mean, at least I've heard that way in the districts that I've worked with. So let's go on to threats and opportunities. Declining enrollment. A lot of the threats are sort of outside pieces, or factors. Declining enrollment, it's hard. It creates a structural deficit. It does lots of negative things for districts. And we don't often comment on fiscal. It's not an area that we always comment on, but in terms of consistency, prioritization, things like that, those sort of play in with this. The history of the superintendent turnover, just creating consistency within that cohort, those are threats. You're on a good road. So I think that these are threats to be aware of in the work that you're doing in creating policies and just how you're running the district. And the last thing is opportunities. These are the greatest. There's really a strong opportunity to get in front of and behind a strategic plan, establish strategic, actionable district and LCAP goals, or in other words, let the SIR action steps attach to some of the great work that's going into your LCAP. We know that we see prioritization if we see it in the LCAP, right? Because that's where oftentimes where funding sort of follows. Development of a unified instructional plan. Again, that's coherence. There's lots of pieces that fit into it. It won't take that much to kind of get it to that place, to where it aligns with the work that you're doing. And then lastly, just to standardize expectations throughout. In other words, what are those things that are, for lack of better words, the things we really want to see? And what are the options that folks have? So there's ways to do it, but these are opportunities, threats, and weaknesses, and strengths that we picked up on in the report, and just wanted to make sure that we're sharing them with you. We're going to turn now to the actions, which is more important, but we wanted to at least take you through some of the analysis.
So in the findings, you'll see in the report, there was approximately 70 actions that were developed based on the findings and the triangulation of the data. And I know that that sounds like a lot. One, it's not a race to do them all. So I will just say that right out the gate. There is no, like, the person who does it the fastest doesn't win anything. And really what we found why there are so many is because we wanted to ensure that there was specificity and clarity in those actions and that they were measurable. And so you will see as you read the report that the actions range. Some of them are rather large in scope and others are much more granular. Also, many of the actions naturally complement or cascade one another as well. So if you tackle one, you are ultimately going to tackle several underneath that. And again, just to highlight that the 4 themes that emerged were the coherence, equity, accountability, and autonomy. And in the report, you will find the actions that are connected to each of those themes. So just some examples of an action from each of the themes. So under coherence, it would be from our instructional component number 1, which comes to crafting and sharing an instructional plan or an instructional framework that ideally connects many of the other plans that we have going on in the district and is grounded in continuous improvement. Under equity, establish professional learning opportunities that focus specifically on the needs of these 3 student groups that were identified: African American, homeless, and foster youth. Accountability, set the expectation for use of benchmark assessments at all levels, TK-12, to capture a clear understanding of student learning at a minimum of quarterly. And autonomy is, again, develop and implement a policy and framework to define the desired level of school autonomy and communicate that expectation throughout the system. So again, it's kind of building within that, what's tight and what's loose. What are we saying is something that we expect everybody to do, and where do you kind of have some leeway to operate for the needs of your site and your students? Another example of how these actions cascade. So again, we have action 1A, which is around crafting and sharing an instructional plan. Connected within that is an assessment continuum. Once you have an instructional plan, you want to have lag and lead metrics that tell you if your instructional plan is in the right place and that students are growing and making progress towards the standards. Within that also then is a professional learning plan. Once we know what our instructional framework is and what our instructional priorities are, we want to ensure that all of our staff have a deep understanding of the expectation and the instructional strategies that we've identified, curriculum that's been identified. Under that, you'll see develop clear expectations for common instructional practices, ensuring there's a continuum of support in the MTSS framework so that we are supporting the students on a social, emotional, behavioral, and mental health level. Implementing data and assessment protocols, again, that monitor both the academic and the social emotional side of our students. Setting the expectation that instructional leadership teams at the site are tasked with facilitating professional learning opportunities, and developing and implementing differentiated models of school leadership development and coaching. So that's just one that when you attack one of those, you kind of, all of those are pieces of that and can't be done without those other pieces being considered. So that's why even though 70 sounds like a lot, there are so many of those that are very naturally connected. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Roberts and we'll talk about what happens now. So like he said, the SIR report is completed. It was published on March 31st, but we're still here. And we are still supporting Mount Diablo. So we want to highlight the 3 areas in which we continue to support, which is communication, progress monitoring, and ongoing support.
Thank you, Dr. Wright. I think it's important to note that for implementation phase, you don't have to get them all done overnight. It's not like a compliance race where, you know, it's like we need to check these off quick. It's not an FPM, federal program monitoring. It's not any of those processes. So in order for systemic change to take place, it takes time to do that. It takes the consistency. And so we like to frame the actions in those terms. We're not here to progress monitor and sort of beat up. It's more so just being helpful to see what are the obstacles that can be sort of lowered or mitigated to, to be successful. So, and as you look at this, there are 2 key activities that we sort of go through. If you look at this set of a bookcase, if you will, on 1 and 4, either side's the bookend. One's the California School Dashboard, which is the objective data set. And then the other is the SIR improvement monitoring, which is the internal process that we do. And sort of in between that are sort of activities that we ask the district to engage in. Just to give you a glimpse, we don't want to take you too far down into this, but we wanted to at least tell you a couple of the activities that we're currently working on. And so this is for progress monitoring. This is more of like internal cycles. Dr. Wright talked about lead and lag indicators. It's a way to say, is there a beginning and an end to progress to what we measure, right? Because we know sometimes the problem with large strategic plans is you only revisit them once a year. There's only, and the LCAP too, right? So how do you sort of keep current progress? How do you sort of inform that progress? How do you sort of say, hey, great job, you know, this is really building momentum. So part of the internal process is just saying, how can we sort of arrange inquiry or implementation of actions in such a way that really prioritizes 2 or 3 in a quarter, really no more than that. And that leads to the next one on the internal, really no more than 2 to 3 with goals, with people assigned to them, with such that it doesn't overwhelm. Again, we know that the district has been through a lot. We know that, you know, there's, with the return to school, lots going on. So we don't want this to be overly burdensome. So we're currently talking to the district now about how we can, you know, sort of start to embark on these conversations. This gives you an example of when those check-in periods are. And so you see in November is one, March is another, and then June. So our next one will be June. We don't really think we'll have a lot progress monitored between now and sort of June 15 or what have you. So, so your timeline fits well. I think it gives you a good amount of ramp up, especially considering summer, you know, what happens with your supplemental instruction, gets you through those periods of time. It really begins to sort of embed some of the action steps in a thoughtful way. So hopefully this is helpful for you to give you a general idea. Ongoing support, just want to point out that County Office of Education, other partners that we sort of would bring into the mix are designed to help long-term, but ultimately we know the district becomes independent just like a student, right? Just like, and is sort of able to automatically, you know, do things. So at some point we will fade away, no time soon, but just wanting to make sure that we're developing partners like your county offices and others so that you have support going down the road. Hopefully that's okay. And then I also wanted to leave you with just a couple of ideas of how the board can support this process too, which you already are. By having us here, we thank you greatly for just the visibility of this. Get to the right page. So in terms of the board, one of the sort of instructional components is governance, right? And there are specific sort of actions that are recommended in there. This board, it will continue to play a critical role in terms of the development and the implementation of these action steps. So here are some ways to help, again, supporting that LCAP. Seeing that these action steps are there and kind of maybe seeing connections with your LCAP, we'd love for you to see that. We'd love for you to see greater connections in that work. Policies, much like what you passed tonight, that unlock things for you, that recognize people, that really, because after all, in this first few months, it's about social emotional learning, right? It's about reconnecting with our students to sort of get them into the right pedagogy, into the right sort of learning environment. And then lastly, just continue to review the report. We're always available to come back and support the superintendent in this work. And so we're always happy to sort of come back to you as well. I'll tell you, one thing we'd like to do is maybe go back and revisit some classrooms in person, if we could, in the next, you know, in this next year or so, just to kind of validate some of it. Because if there's ever an area that we were hoping we could do more in, it would be actually being in a physical classroom. But anyway, just some of the thoughts that we're having. Lastly, implementations, next steps. So we're currently engaging with a larger sort of group, inclusive of county office, to really prioritize which of the action steps are there. And a lot of it just follows in line with your directives that you already have in place. And so there's some low-hanging fruit that we'll be able to sort of pick off, I think, for lack of better words. But really, it's that November, March, and June times that you'll see a roll-up, an actual progress monitoring. Dr. Wheaton on our team will help sort of roll that stuff up and put it in such a way that it's visually appealing for you, because data sometimes isn't. So again, next steps, identifying actions to prioritize, engaging different stakeholders around the CERT processes. In other words, how do we get it now out to the sites, right? How does that sort of process take place? And then working on implementing CERT actions and engaging with results, those types of things. So, do you want to add anything? Guys, we really appreciate the time here, and we're hoping that you found the CERT report helpful, informative, any of the above. And we look forward to engaging with the superintendent and the district and community on next steps. So thank you. We'll take questions too.
Thank you very much for your presentation and for all of your work on this report and in collaboration with so many staff members and with Dr. Clark. It's this type of deep analysis and best practices that I think will get us to where we need to go. So really appreciate your being here and your willingness to continue building this relationship in an ongoing way, and would love to see you out visiting our classrooms. That sounds fantastic. So let me open it up to trustees for questions.
I don't have a lot of questions. I see a lot of work before us. There were some things that confused me, not that I disagree with them, but one of the areas that stuck out to me was curriculum. And when I first got on the board and until the last couple of years, we had millions sitting there for books and curriculum. So I'm at a loss why it's outdated and it hasn't been updated. I guess another frustration I have as a board member is we get the budget brought to us and we get to ask questions and comment, but I never necessarily see that reflected. And it's the same with the LCAT. It's brought here. We comment on it. Sometimes I've made comments. I haven't seen them implemented in the LCAT, but I got a chance to make my comment. So I think there's room for better communication and for the board to have a better understanding. And I like the quarterly reporting to see that instead of just seeing the LCAP now in Johnny and I can sit home and read it all I want all year long, but I think to collectively take a look at it and see we are, especially with those groups, will get us where we want to be. And so it was a real eye opener for me because those are our things we're supposed to be doing, the budget and the policies and procedures. And I kind of feel like maybe we've been asleep at the wheel and now it's time to wake up and really get more involved and ask more questions and do regular check-ins. So I look forward to continuing to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Mason. Other trustees?
I have a quick question. Thank you so much for the presentation. I really enjoyed all the information that you put in, and I know that this is going to be a lot of work for our district, and I'm excited about that in order to focus on these populations. I have one question, and that is just, what does success look like for the individual, for example, foster youth student, once these recommendations, actions are implemented? What does success look like for that one student?
Success looks like movement of that student. When you look at data and you look at like over year, and you look at the different student groups, right? Notice the line never changes. It just stays static. It's not the up and down, it's the movement on that line. It's like, where's the heartbeat? Where's the heartbeat in the data? And so it's those blips. So objectively, we'll look for those blips within the data sets, but also recognizing where these students are sort of residing, what schools, because you have a very big district. And it really takes a tiered approach, what we call a tiered approach, which is how do we sort of meet the students where they're at, where their needs are? Because it's egregious. Anytime a student drops out, we all share this, right? Anytime a student doesn't make it, it's something that we don't like. That's not what we're here for to do. So the other thing is, do we see systemic change in how the system sort of treats those students? Or, for instance, is there a qualification process that's broken? Is there how do you sort of wrap around services from that student? Also, in terms of the priorities, engagement of students was a big one. Especially students experiencing homelessness and foster youth. It's like, how do you get those kiddos engaged? Of course, we're not able to engage them. They're in a very difficult situation. So I think, but it's incumbent upon us to say, how do we really make sure that we've got these students on our radar? So there's a few things I think that we could, but from where you're sitting, I think what can we do systemically? Are the policies lined up to ensure that these students are addressed once they get in the gate, right? It's kind of like when the laws changed over foster youth that said, the student is presented to you for enrollment, you must enroll that student, right? You can't wait for records. There's a reason for these policies to be in place. So embracing that type of thing that allows some equity. Sorry, I'm a little passionate about it, but I can go on and on and on. We have to get these students there. You got it.
I would also say success looks like equitable outcomes. So we're not seeing one group of students performing up here and another group of students performing down here and a lot of empty in the middle. And we're also, so we're closing those achievement gaps and we're closing opportunity gaps for those students.
Alrighty, thank you, and I appreciate your passion very much.
Thank you. Other trustees? No? No? Check in with trustee Nzui.
It's like 10 seconds behind, so I didn't get to finish hearing what was just said. Thank you so much for this very comprehensive report. And part of my question, Trustee Alas just asked, and it's like, how do we know that we're successful? And one thing that I'm wondering is the only, besides all of those things, is the only, what is the measurement? Is it just the dashboard that determines that we are out of this process? Yeah, I think that's my first question.
Yeah, the state dashboard data, which again is suspended right now, so there are no new data. I mean, there's college and career indicator data, there's graduation data, but not a lot else. What we look at, especially for those students, suspension rates, attendance rates. There are other data sets that I think locally that you can look at that would, sort of provide that information. So again, it's all in how you systemically sort of treat them. I'll leave you with this thought. It reaches that point where we're successful when you guys give it your stamp too. And I think that we're looking for that, and we're anxious for that leadership as well, and to sort of help with that. So in whatever way that we can sort of move that, that's great. So thank you, Board Member Nizawi.
Sorry for the lag. Okay, so I won't hear the rest of that question. I'll just leave it at that. Thank you. I appreciate it, and I really look forward to us as a board determining what our priorities are, because between all the different plans that we have to work on as a school district, we have quite a heavy lift to make sure that we are serving all of our students and all of our families. And especially, you see the similarities between the three different groups around engagement, achievement, climate. And I think that has a lot to do with just who we are as people. So I think it will be a huge culture shift that needs to occur to impact a lot of these. And I believe that many of your recommendations would push us towards that. So thank you.
Thank you. So for myself, did you have a question? Oh, okay. So a couple of things stood out to me in the report. One was looking at some of the areas of improvement. As Trustee Mason said, the lack of a regular curriculum adoption cycle is something that we've been concerned about and really wanting to improve. The lack of dialogue regarding using student achievement data with a kind of a plan, do, study, act, with those kind of quarterly updates in a clear way. And that's something that I think we as board members have learned in our training and our Masters in Governance training and all of that, that, as a district, there are so many data points and so many goals that if you just kind of focus on everything at once, you're not going to get any one specific thing done. So the idea that I'm excited about here is that we as a board and a leadership team with Dr. Clark and the leadership of the district could really hone in on some very specific goals, like Trustee Nzewi was saying around culture, but also around student achievement. I would love to see us focus on math, for example, and set some just key benchmarks at the board district level that then does go all the way down to the school district level, so that our school site teams are really looking carefully at what is or is not working at that school site with those students, and then differentiating that data to pull out at this school site, how are our homeless students doing? How are our African American students doing in particular? So that we're all kind of in this focused study over the course of a year, for example, right? So I'm very excited about that possibility, and would love to see if that's an area that you're able to work with us in, facilitating a board workshop and that sort of thing, to be able to help us to define some of those goals. Seems like it would be a fantastic next step. So thank you. I'm very excited about the possibilities here. I think a lot of the things that we face, challenges in our district, are ones that are also statewide and nationwide. So these are not easy things to do, but they are imperative. We absolutely, like you said, we've got to meet the needs of these students, and we've got to do it now. We've got to be treating all of our students and families with respect and with high expectations, and meeting their needs. So looking really carefully, the other thing I noticed in the report a lot too was just a lack of representation of these particular groups in our committees, in the ways that we gather information and input. So if we can improve and really hear from the students themselves, from the parents themselves, in all different ways, meeting them where they're at. Maybe they can't make it to our standard, committee meeting that is on a set date and time in a certain location, but we could figure out another way. Having those voices at the table, to me, is a real game changer. And that is another place where I think we as a board can make a difference. So.
Forgot to turn on my mic. It's just like at home with the computer. I apologize. I appreciated the report and have much to learn from it. I think it's something that we need to review on an ongoing basis. And each time I look at it, I pick out something new. For a while, our district did a lot around professional learning communities. And then during my visits at schools, I didn't see evidence of those engagements at school sites like I did initially. So I was glad to see that sort of information coming back in the report. I also appreciate the professional development and the call out in that, because I believe that's invaluable for us to move forward. The professional development allows us to recognize where we do well, and then it also allows us to learn where we need to go in our next steps as we're trying to improve. So I see a lot of value in professional development. I seem to recall, but perhaps I'm wrong, that part of the delay for our curriculum adoptions was based on the State Board of Education stopping their approval of different curriculums. So perhaps we had money sitting in those accounts, but there wasn't curriculum to adopt that was new. Am I correct there in that situation?
Yeah, there's a certain of that went on as the larger system sort of changed, and yeah, there was a lot of that sort of went on. How do you nail that down?
Okay.
The other thing too is they did away with categoricals back in 2000,
Right.
And so your, forgive me, IMF funds, your instructional materials funds, those were done away with. But I know a couple of meetings ago you guys did a
Right.
reprioritization, so I applaud you. That sounds like that answered a lot of the questions that you
Right.
came up with, which is.
I think our community is looking forward to those curriculum adoptions, and I hope that there will be individuals that will want to serve on the committees as we select those adoptions. And previously, when we've done adoptions, we've even had minority reports. So people were were very engaged through the curriculum adoptions and the textbook adoptions. And what I want to encourage the board and say is that in my years on the board, we have not developed the board's capacity to use study sessions well. And I think this is an area of improvement, and this particular topic will help us be better as a board as we go through study sessions to understand the data and how we can work with our staff to make the improvements that are needed. So that's an area of growth for the board in my view. And so I look forward to working with all of you, and we're going to have to start calendaring the meetings.
Absolutely. That sounds great. Thank you, Trustee Mayo. Trustee McFerrin, did you have anything else? No? Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Really
Sorry to
appreciate
take
it.
so much time.
Looking forward to the ongoing work.
Thank you. Thank you, Superintendent.
Okay, moving on to item 12.2, review the increase and decrease of certificated personnel FTE for the 2020-2021 school year and 2021-2022 school year. Dr. Clark, or Dr. Rubio.
Good evening. This is our usual board meeting transactions showing for your review. The first one is the increase and decrease of certificated personnel FTEs that we currently have since the last board meeting.
Any questions from trustees on item 12.2 or 12.3?
I had a question about the 3 traveling librarians. Are we replacing people who left, or?
That's a great question. Based on, the assumption that we have students across the board for the most part coming back in the fall, we currently have staff looking at the schedule built into the contract for the teachers for a number of years now has been a certain level of preparation time in order to do that. So to answer your question, I believe that they noticed in planning right now that there's a slight increase that we may need to be able to make sure we have enough staff to pull off the preparation periods that are required by the contract. So I believe that it is a slight increase.
Okay, and then my follow-up would just be, when we did the PARS agreement and there was when we laid people off or people left, if we replaced them all, then we got no benefit from it. So do we know if any of those play into that at all, or we don't know at this point?
I don't know at this point if they do, and honestly, right now we're kind of targeting the opening of school and trying to make sure we end up in a sufficiently staffed situation.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on 12.2 or 12.3? 12.3 is the same, but for classified personnel for the 2020-2021 school year. Trustee Mayo.
I did have a question on the document says that we are adding a fiscal analyst beginning tomorrow. And was wondering, when did the board approve this position? And was, some information I received said that it would be on tonight's agenda. And I just need to know where we are considering that position.
Because this shows just the transactions that are going as the paperwork is flowing right now through the departments, right, for sign off and budget. This would have to come back, end up coming back to you, I believe, on an item such as what we have later in the board meeting, where we bring to you new promotions, retirements, resignations, additions. So that is not on tonight for approval. It is just right now, you're seeing it because it's coming through and working its way through our process, where we're looking at increasing and decreasing. I know that the board, you several times during the year, you approve the budget. So for staffing, you're just seeing right now is that transaction occurring. So at the next board meeting, I believe, in that position, it doesn't yet exist. It doesn't have a person in it. It's not a management position, although every time I hear it, I think management has that ring to it. It is, I believe, a CST unit position. Because I know we're struggling a bit right now in a particular department where we need that help in fiscal. And so you would probably see that, I believe, at the next board meeting as a potential addition on the other item, but I'll double check that to make sure.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. And these items are informational only at this point, no action. Okay, thank you. Item 12.4, review of state modernization eligibility. Dr. Clark?
And Dr. Gonzalez is coming up for this item.
We are going to tag team this. Thank you, board. The item before you this evening is strictly for information. We let you know back probably late fall that we were going to be contracting with school facility consultants. And what they do is they take a look at all of our enrollment. They take a look at every single building in the district and when it is eligible for either new construction or modernization funding. And they, you know, they match up a certain number of things, and then they go through and they work with the Office of Public School Construction to identify where the eligibility is. And based on what they did, you'll see the report here in front of you this evening. This report is only for modernization. They're doing another report for new construction, and that should be ready in 3 or 4 weeks. But we wanted to make sure that you saw this right away because it gives us some of our marching orders to figure out there's approximately $24 million worth of eligible projects. And so we were just talking earlier tonight, both our new Director of Maintenance and Operations and I were discussing exactly how we're going to go back and start looking at every single project that we've done over the last 7 to 8 years and figure out where we can actually go back and try to claim some of that $24 million. Are there any additional questions that the board has?
I have a question because I was questioning the audit, additional audit at the last meeting.
Correct.
And at the last meeting, that's what they were to be doing, correct? You
No.
said they were going back to make sure we counted all the money we could get from the state from projects we did.
Okay, so two different things. So Crow is our auditor, and they were auditing the 5 projects, the only 5 projects that we've had since approximately 2010. Those projects have been completed, and in order to make sure you don't have to give any funds back to the state, they come in and they start pulling examples of documents and contracts and plans and agreements and completion documents. That is entirely different than this process. So in that process, they're making sure we don't have to give any money back for any projects we've already done. This process identifies where we have projects that we can apply for so that we can get the 60% match from the state and get those projects in line. So the next time the state issues more bonds, we are able to claim some of those funds.
Okay, and then that is tied to a position later on the agenda, no? Okay, I thought I read something about a new position that also was doing that, looking at getting 24 million for the district, but I guess it was this one.
That is this one, and our current staff will be working, at least right now, under Ms. Coslow's direction to, again, identify these projects. We will likely bring in a consultant while we don't have a director of facilities and bonds to try to get these projects lined up as quickly as possible so that we can get all the documentation and go back and submit.
Just so there's no confusion. So none of that you just said is related to what's later on the agenda.
No.
Under bill. Okay, I'm just making sure I.
Okay, any other questions on state modernization eligibility? All right,
Thank you
very
for all
much.
the work involved in this. This is so important to make sure that our facilities can be brought up to date.
Agreed. And just so the board knows, we're putting the systems instructions in place to make sure that we are constantly putting ourselves on a cycle to relook at all of this and make sure that as soon as we've got eligibility, we've got projects ready to go. So thank you.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much. Smart, strategic use of our funds. Really appreciate that. All right, item 12.5, review and potential approval of MDUSD board letter of support for a state-funded statewide expansion of the Contra Costa County Healthcare Careers Pathway Certified CNA Workforce Development Program. Dr. Clark?
I'm going to have you go to the podium and introduce yourself and present this item.
Thank you so much. I'm
Thank
so
you.
excited to see Ms. Victoria Abate here, Director of Adult Education, as well as I believe you have a few members of your team here.
Yes,
I was
we do.
just so excited to have you here to be able to tell us a little bit more about this project and how it became a model program in our statewide plan for aging, and how we as a board can support its expansion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hear them coming up, so we will be expeditious here. Good evening, distinguished members of the board, Dr. Clark and my district colleagues, and to the community. Thank you very much, Board President Pound, also for supporting bringing this forward. We're very excited about this initiative, which we will share a little bit about. We don't have a formal presentation, but we will give you an overview so that you will have an idea specifically what this pertains to. I want to just point out one thing about Mount Diablo Adult Education, also known as Mount Diablo Unified School District Adult Education, that we serve the families in this community. Many who are here tonight, many are our own colleagues in the district, and also many of them are our parents and family members of our K-12 students. And of course, they are our adult ed students. So it's a very integrated network we have. And this particular program is it's a very innovative program, which our team will share. I think you will find it very interesting. It fits in beautifully with our mission and vision as an adult education institution. We are lifting up members in our community who are interested in not only pursuing further education, modeling for their own children, but to improve their own lives, the lives of their families. For us, sometimes the rubric or the measure of success can be pretty darn concrete in jobs and retention of jobs, and also progression into jobs and careers. So we will talk a little bit about that tonight. So I'd like to just start by introducing one of my colleagues, and this new partnership that we have, which I would like to underscore, is a very unique public-private partnership, which we will talk about. And I would like to introduce Nicole Howell, who is the ombudsman in Alameda, Contra Costa, and Solano County. She will talk a little bit perhaps about her work and how this came forward. And then she will introduce our team, which are our partners. So I will turn it over to you, Nicole, and thank you, team, and welcome.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nicole Howell. I'm the Executive Director for Ombudsman Services. And if you're not familiar with what that is, that means that we advocate on behalf of those who live in long-term care. And as you saw during COVID, a lack of trained staff and a lack of staff in skilled nursing facilities is deadly to those who live there. And as an ombudsman, we've known that for many years. And so a few years ago, born out of a conversation with Lillian Roslin, the director of the Community Health Fund, we came together with Opportunity Junction, with Mount Diablo Unified School District, and with a skilled nursing partner to reimagine entry into the allied healthcare workforce that could be supported and student-centered and seek out students with addressable barriers. So if you're a student who could go pay $2,000 and attend a private program, that's not what we're looking for. We actively seek out students who have addressable barriers. Maybe they're the first in their family to attend post-secondary education. Maybe they've experienced homelessness. Maybe they've experienced addiction. Maybe they have more months than money, or can't think of how to complete an application because they just don't have the capacity to think through that process. Those are the students we are looking for. And through a really integrated, not only hard skill curriculum, but also infused with soft skills, with lots of support services provided by Mount D and Opportunity Junction, our students graduate at a rate much greater than typical certified nursing assistant programs. And when they graduate, they are steeped in principles of person-centered care. And because they have sometimes struggled in their lives, they are much more willing to work with residents who have also struggled. So instead of escalating conflict, they de-escalate. Instead of accepting anything less than person-centered care first, they are willing to change culture and challenge assumptions respectfully. Also, instead of walking away from a job when it gets hard, we work with them to help them stay in the industry, to help them plan their next steps. This is but the first step in the healthcare career pathway. We are expanding to Opportunity Junction later this year. And we're also actively looking at adding additional training programs like home health aid, like licensed vocational nursing. We want to open pathways for students, and we want to provide really qualified workers to the long-term care industry. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce my colleague, Brianna Robinson. She's the Director of Programs from Opportunity Junction. We also have Feline Sunga, who's the local administrator for several skilled nursing facilities, and our own Jonathan Raslin, who I always forget his title, I'm so sorry. There you go, who has led this workforce. We are now in our 3rd year. We currently have our 5th cohort in class. And I want to invite you, we have our next graduation on June 4th at 9 a.m. in the morning. Drive-through graduation, we're very excited, and you will see that this is a real graduation. This is a step into the allied workforce that our students are really excited to take. The proposal before you today, we have received statewide attention in the Master Plan on Aging. It was through an executive director from the governor, and we were mentioned in the local playbook. And so this was a significant victory for our program. It's also a recognition that what we're doing should be replicated across the state. And so through work with local elected officials and others, we have a proposal being championed by Dr. Lambula and Assemblymember Nazarian to expand this program to 6 additional communities across California and invest over the course of 5 years. So I think what's most exciting is that over the course of those 5 years, those caregivers will actually provide more than 1 million hours of direct care and invest nearly $25 billion in the California economy that they earn and feel good about toward a pathway to really sustainable employment. And so we ask you today to indicate your support to the Assembly that this is something that you were proud of and you hope other communities have access to as well. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. You know, as a former community organizer in affordable housing, I've experienced with residents, you know, what they've gone through as they're dealing with the different silos. You know, you've got your community, your county services over here, your nonprofits over here, your job over there, and you're standing in long lines in all of those places to try to get what you need to cobble it all together to survive in so many cases. And what I see here is what you were saying, person-centered, you know, really looking at what does a person need to succeed and bringing all of those pieces together into one place and following them all the way through to make sure that they succeed. And I'm so excited to see the successes that our pilot here in Mount Diablo Unified Adult Ed has had with this partnership, that students are successful and filling these essential roles in our community that are so needed, that are also good paying jobs. So thank you so much for coming here and presenting this tonight. I would love for our board to be able to support this letter. Let me open it up to any questions or comments from the rest of the board here as well.
I would just say, as a person who has a mom in memory care, and I've actually been on a couple of webinars you did with assisted living facilities, there's a huge need. And I think you hit the nail on the head. I think a lot of times these young people go in unprepared for what they're really going to deal with, and then they turn around and leave. And nothing's harder on that community of memory care than having a constant change of people caring for you. So I think it's really needed. I'm thrilled to support it. I would support 100%, because I'm going to be there someday and I'm going to need that person helping me.
Yeah, we all will. Yes, Trustee Mayo.
So I'd just like to thank everyone who's been involved in this project over this time. Your hard work has added a gold star, not only to the Mount Diablo Adult Education Program, but also to the Mount Diablo School District. And it's through the creativity and the coordination of your efforts and the passion behind your mission that you've made this possible, and this, like you said, it benefits our community greatly. And now we're looking at being able to replicate this in 6 other communities. That is amazing. So thank you for your hard work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Trustee Mayo. And thank you also to John Muir Community Health Fund, who I think
Thank
has
you. We want
been
to be sure to recognize John Muir, and I think Lillian Roslin is here tonight. Is she? There she is. Without her, I call her the glue that helps to keep us together. She has great experience and has given her full heart and support to this. If I may just take a second to mention 2 things I think are really helpful in understanding this also. As the educational training provider for Mount Diablo Adult Education, I know my colleagues, Dr. Clark has participated and other of colleagues in the district in our national certification and accreditation process for our career technical education programs. So we have a bar of about 80% as our goal, and that's for us, our minimum for placement or for getting people into jobs. We may not actually place them into jobs, but to make them at the point of being job ready. And I must say that the cohorts we've trained thus far have a very high, we've hit 100% in a number of the cohorts percentage. And these are individuals of all ages. Adult ed, we often think of older people. You are correct, President Cowan, we have younger people as well. I think you also mentioned it. 18 to 24 is a large group, but we have also reached into the community for the low economic population. And so this is a first opportunity into a career. And I know, and we are already seeing many that have their sights set on other aspects of the healthcare profession. So I think there's tremendous potential. And thank you very much for the support. I want to thank again Dr. Clark and also you for helping to bring it forward, President Cowan, and for staff. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, do we have a motion on this item?
Madam President, I would move the board approve providing the healthcare careers pathway, a proposed letter of support to the chair of the California Assembly Committee on Health.
Second. Yeah, that's. I couldn't hear who seconded that. All right, thank you. Motion by trustee Mayo and second by trustee Ellis. All right, any further discussion? Let's take it to a vote. Trustee Ellis.
Yes.
Trustee Mayo.
Yes.
Trustee Mason.
Yes.
Trustee McFerrin.
Yes.
Trustee Nzewi.
Yes, and I didn't get a chance to comment, so I just wanted to
jump
say
in.
thank you so much for bringing this forward. I think that one, it's the demonstration that our adult school, as we recognized a few meetings ago in recognition of Adult School Week, is amazing and awesome and such a valuable asset to our community. And our state, if you haven't heard, has gazillion dollars left over right now. And so this is such a small ask, as they say, it's budget dust. And our own country has recognized the value of the care professions in this last year. And you see that reflected in proposals coming from Congress and coming from the Biden administration. And so there really is no excuse to further investment in this, especially as these are careers that people can actually sustain themselves on in a very meaningful way and sustain their families. So I really appreciate that, and I'm so glad that we'll submit this letter of support. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Nzewi. I also vote yes. Motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. Thank you very much, everyone. Much appreciated. All right, thank you. And with that, we move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Clark.
So, Madam President, I'm going to respectfully and humbly ask if we could please move item 17.1 in front of the superintendent's report due to the amount of people who are here and who would like to comment on that item. So I should have brought this up at the beginning of the meeting, so please forgive me for that, but I'm going to ask if the board will consider that at this point.
Thank you, Dr. Clark. I appreciate that. Board members, are we in agreement? Yes. All right, so we will move to item 17.1. Thank you. This is the review and potential approval of a one-time stipend for contracted employees for the 2020-2021 fiscal year. Dr. Clark.
So since I moved this item, my staff probably isn't prepared to come up and talk about this.
Actually, what we could do is take the public comments first, because we do have comment cards.
Why don't we start that? I know we have individuals who have turned in some cards who want to talk on this,
Yes.
so why don't we do that, and then staff can get ready and we can.
Thank you. Vice President Mason has the comment cards here. Okay, let's see. First, we have Amelia Hurtado. And then following Amelia will be Jeanette Benitez. Is that correct?
My name is.
You gotta turn the microphone on, ma'am.
Is the microphone on right there?
I'm not used to this.
There we go. You just
So what
tapped
do I
it.
do? Oh.
It is on. Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Amelia Hurtado, and I am a Mount Diablo Unified School District bus driver. As the bus drivers, and when I say we have some bus drivers here, and each one is very appreciated for being here. But as bus drivers, we signed up to transport our community's most precious and priceless treasures, our future generation. Many have normal challenges, and many other students have greater challenges. These challenges are very stressful for bus drivers because we care, we love, we tend, and we transport these students as if they were our own children. We love them. This horrific pandemic had bus drivers rise above. Oh, thank you. It rise above. Thank you. Okay. This horrific pandemic had bus drivers rise above and beyond our normal job responsibilities. We school bus drivers went above by being one of the very few essential workers to work in a state of not knowing if working would cause us and our family health conditions and or even death. We volunteered to deliver food to our community children. What we want you to know is that we were exposed into a world where no vaccine existed, and yet we still thought it important to keep our students fed and let our community know that we are not just a community, but we are a real family, that we band together as a family. So please, when you think of bus drivers, remember, be flexible, be just, fair, and think of equality. Remember that our service deserves to be recognized, and it is worthy of equality compensation. Mount Diablo Unified School District, we are first-class family, we are first-class citizens, and that we are first-class bus drivers. And we're asking for first-class equal compensation. Thank you for your time and being so kind.
Thank you. We have Jeanette Benitez, and then we'll have Vanessa Mirando.
Good morning, good afternoon or evening. So, let me take my glasses. Good evening, board members and Dr. Clark. As an employee of MDUSD going into my 21st year, I'm here tonight to speak in behalf of our bus drivers and our brothers and sisters from M&O, food service, the custodians, our TIS crew, and landscapers. When this pandemic happened in March of 2020, this world did not know what was to happen, and it was chaotic. But the district called on our brothers and sisters to come back to work and serve our students. Food service employees were out there 3 days a week serving lunches to our community. Then came the bus drivers. They were no longer driving students to and from school, but delivering lunches to our community where families could not go to their home school to receive lunches for their students. Custodians are now deep cleaning areas that was never an issue, but now they must go above and beyond their duties to make sure that the school buildings are sanitized and free of germs. Why am I saying this to you? You might ask. It's because when we were called on to go back to our job, we came back with changes to our job duties. We came back with no PPE in place, but we managed to do our work, and as much as we could, we try to stay safe from contracting COVID-19. We knew little about this virus, but as time went on, we were educated. So tonight, my understanding is that the district is willing to give 8 hours employees a stipend, and for 0.5-hour employees, half of the stipend with the board approval. I ask that the board members to give this a good thought and kindly remember that when it came time to step up and go above and beyond, it was from our 0.5 hourly employees. And I believe they deserve equal stipend as all employees. Because in the end, we are all equal. Lastly, let's thank our TIS member for diligently working long hours to make sure not only our students, but employees are able to work from home and do distant learning. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. Vanessa Miranda, and then Teresa Burgum. And then Noveni Faria.
Good evening, board and Dr. Clark. My name is Vanessa Miranda, and I have been with the district for over 20 years and in food service. And we have all my sisters and brothers in food service, and like the bus drivers and maintenance people and custodians showed up not knowing. We were scared to death. I have no speech. I'm going to talk from the heart. We showed up scared to death. We didn't know what was going on, but we want to make sure the children in our community were being taken care of because they are our children. We look at them as they're our babies, and we cook from the heart and we prepare stuff for them. We want to make sure they eat because they don't get it if we don't give it to them. They really don't. I'm in a community school, Fair Oaks, and at the top of Monument. And these children don't eat unless we bring the food to them or give it to them. We showed up to do that no matter what. We couldn't go, we didn't know if we were going to bring it home to our families. We didn't know if we were going to get it. Some of us are older and we're in that bracket of we could possibly get it, but we still showed up. Even the 2-hour, 3-hour, 5-hour person showed up because we cared about the community and the kids at Mount Diablo Unified School District. And this is what it's all about. It's our children, and we want to make sure they're okay. So we're just asking that when you think about it, we didn't ask for pandemic pay the whole time. You know, like the grocery store guys get $5 an hour extra. We didn't ask for that. But this idea of a $1,500 kind of stipend was kind of like a pandemic payment thing. And it was kind of a nice little boost to us because we have been struggling to come in and make sure things are getting out there. And so we just ask you to think about that and look in your hearts and think, should I just give a 5.5-hour person this much? You know, we still showed up. We did it, just like a 6-hour or 8-hour person. So we're just asking to think about that, and hopefully you can find it in your hearts to really see what's fair. And that's the bottom line. I only came here to speak from my heart and not to have a speech in front of me because I wanted to be truthful and honest with you of how I felt. And thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Miranda. And next, Teresa Burgum, and then Noveni Faria.
Hi, I'm Teresa Burgum. I'm also in food service. I'm one of the shop stewards for Teamsters. Thank you, Dr. Clark. I really appreciate you bringing this forward. A lot of us get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, so I really appreciate that. I hope you've read some of the emails that have come to you, so you know how we feel. Something that I want to give you a little bit of food of thought, though. Again, like Vanessa said, we never asked for anything, but here we are. Great, you want to offer $1,500, but once again, this isn't really a matter of equality. I keep hearing that word. It's about equity. We were out there from day one, food service was, and we didn't ask for anything. We didn't even question it. We just went out there. And something else I just want to bring up,
We haven't had a raise since 2017. We're working on that. I know you're working on that. However, we have some administrators, and I'll just give a few examples. There's one administrator whose raise would be more than 21 people's 1,500 bonus. That's perpetually every year, not one time. We have another administrator who's 16 1,500, bonuses, perpetually, forever, not one time. 3 others that are worth, it's the 2, 4, 6 of them, that's another 18. So just with 5 administrators, perpetually, they're getting the amount that you would give to 55 of us, okay? So just think about that. I mean, we're asking for equity. We've been out there. We'd like you to think of the 2-hour employee is just as valuable as the 8-hour employee. Thank you.
Thank you. And do we have Noveni Faria?
Our Superintendent, Dr. Clark, the board members, good evening. I am Noven Feria Apostolian, and I would like to thank the board in allowing me to speak tonight in behalf of all the members of Teamster of the district. We would like to express our gratitude for the proposal offers of stipend pay for all the full-time rank and file employees. However, I would like also to speak on behalf of our employees who works under full-time status. These are our food service workers, bus drivers, and some of IT. They too stand the risk of contracting this deadly virus while at work in the kitchen to prepare for the food of our students and our driver who pick up and bring our children in the school. Please consider them also vulnerable as we are all in contracting this deadly virus while working for this school district. As a full-time employee, this proposal stipend is a big help to us to survive on this crisis. How much more to our co-members who works less hours, that means it's very hard for them to survive too. Therefore, we should also consider them for this to receive as the full-time employees will receive too. Thank you for your time and in listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, I believe that is all the comment cards for item 17.1. So we'll turn this over to Dr. Clark and staff.
So yes, I'm going to have Dr. Gonzalez and Dr. Rubio come to the podium and present this item.
If you want to tilt up the microphone there.
Oh,
might
sorry,
work a
thank
little.
you.
There we
thank
go.
Works for me, not for him.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. We're presenting item 17.1, a review and potential approval of a one-time stipend for contracted employees for the 2021 fiscal year. I'll let Ms. Gonzalez expand on some of the summary piece and why it's some of the wording is critical.
That would be Doctor.
Dr.
Thank you.
Gonzalez. sorry.
So we've worked with the county office, we've worked with our fiscal advisor. There is one grant source, if you will, that's coming out of one-time funds. It's called AB 86. It's an in-person grant, state funding. It is allowable to use this for staff who are participating in the agency's reopening plan. We are proposing that this be for any employees that are in paid status as of today, receiving a reopening payment of $1,500 based on a 1.0 FTE prorated for employees working less than 1.0 FTE or full-time. That would be the maximum amount, so anybody whose FTE would be over that would be limited to the 1,500. That comes to approximately $5.5 million. Any questions that any of you have that we can answer?
Trustees, questions?
Is there a timeliness attached to this item? If the board wanted to give it further consideration, could it come up at the next meeting?
It can come up at the next meeting. Yes, it can. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get things sort of situated with payroll. So if it's not coming up now and we kick it down the road another 2 weeks, we're probably looking at sometime in July before those payments can go out. Otherwise, we were trying to do that as of June.
Other questions? Trustee Mayo? Yep, you look like you were about to ask a question. Did you have a comment?
If the board were to approve this item as presented, could we further consider a stipend to those individuals who were not full-time employees at a later date?
Well, we can, but this funding source does have some limitations. So if we were to expand the purview, if you will, of those that were receiving whatever the amount is that they would be getting, it means that we would have less money in this grant for other things that are allowable, including PPEs, HVAC. This one of the things that we're earmarking for this is pretty extensive work out at Northgate, cleaning supplies, and then evaluation of all of our air systems. So, you know, one of the phrases that we often hear and we say is, we can do anything, but we can't do everything. So if we are increasing the amount that we need, it means that we need to decrease someplace else.
What is the total AB 86 funding that Mount Diablo is receiving?
I'm sorry.
The total amount of AB 86 funding that we are receiving?
$9.009 million.
So if I understand right, that particular grant is one of the few that will let us use it in this manner, correct?
It is the only one that specifically calls out salaries. And
However,
stipends go in that category.
the new funding that hasn't got here yet, specifically, my understanding is they're saying that should be used for HVAC and for ventilation systems. So
that is correct.
We could wait, and I don't know, have we even got that money yet from the
No.
Recovery Act? We haven't got that
No, we
money.
haven't. We
Okay.
do not expect in this fiscal year to see anything from ESSER 3.
Mhm.
We are waiting to see when we will receive the first 25% of ESSER 2. And we're expecting at some point in time before the end of this fiscal year to receive part of AB 86 in person and part of AB 86 expanded learning.
And then the new money, which I understand you probably don't know much about, that Newsom just spoke of.
Oh,
what restrictions are on that money?
So we will know more next week, but I know that Board Member Mayo is pulling it up, and what we're hearing right now from our lobbyists, there's a lot of information. What we're hearing about that right now is that the bulk of those funds are going to be given to concentration districts. We are not a concentration district. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I have a quick question. So this is a one-time stipend, but what is the precedent for this type of stipend from this type of grant funding source? Is it always based on 1.0 FTE and a portion in this manner?
It is not. So I can't speak to what precedent may have been in the past in the district, because I've only been here for a year and a half, and my colleague here has been here less, so we can't speak to precedents. Perhaps some of our board members could.
Well, I think this is a COVID stipend, so I'm not sure that we have a precedent for this. The question, Trustee Mayo, was whether there is precedent for how this type of a stipend has been done in the past in our district. Has it always been if we've done a stipend like this before, has it always been prorated for less than a 1.0 FTE?
In instances that I can recall, and my memory isn't perfect, my recollection is that the allocation of funds are prorated in all of the items that we consider for our employees. That's benefits, a myriad of different items that come before the board based on contract or based on board decision.
So I think one more bit of information in the question that you haven't asked, but I do have the answer for, which is if we were to award the 1,500 plus the statutory benefits to anyone who is employed as of today, it's approximately $2 million more.
So the additional 2 million would be across the board, be it district-wide, not just for one particular, like the Teamsters, for example. Okay.
That is correct. So I know that there was a question about that earlier, and there was no way for staff to be able to get reasonable information that is reliable in the amount of time that we had.
Okay. Any other questions or comments at this end? Can't tell for Trustee Zeri. Okay. Do we have a motion on this item?
Personally, I would rather wait, relook at the numbers and bring it back next month.
Other trustees?
I'm sorry, I'm just hearing why there was applause, so, because I couldn't hear. But I agree with Trustee Mason that we should further consider this. Because, yeah, I don't think we have everything that we need to know, like, what is it? If it costs $2 million more, what are we giving up? And that may be worth it, and as Trustee Mason pointed out, there is money coming. We know it is coming. We don't know when and what could wait for that, or, you know, how could we use different sources. So yeah, that's the end.
Trustee Mayo?
I apologize if this sounds disconnected. The decision process for these funds, must the dispensation of the funds be included in the LCAP report or any reports that we need to file in the beginning of June?
No, they do not.
Okay.
So there's one, okay, so there's the LCAP, and the LCAP is going to mention a number of things. There's the expanded learning. The expanded learning does not include the requirements or the spending plan for the in-person grant.
Okay. And then the next question, you had indicated, and we're all aware of this, that it takes time to prepare all the checks through the system. And yes, we would love to press a key and have it happen immediately, but it just doesn't work that way. How long will it take to process checks? Should we delay till the next meeting or the first meeting in June? Because I know folks want the money before June 30th. So I'm trying to work backwards.
I don't see, in my conversations with the fiscal department, I don't see how there's a way to get any of those payments before July 30th. They were going to be hard pressed to try to get it ready if the approval was tonight for a separate check run sometime between the 15th and the 25th of June. Right, so it has to be interspersed with a number of the other ones because you can't lay it directly on top of another payroll run. So they have to do a separate run.
Okay.
So we were going to be pushing to try to get it in June already. If you wait 2 weeks, we're into July. It still hits on this fiscal year.
Right.
But they would not have a check
in hand.
Correct.
Okay.
So Trustee Mayo, I too am concerned about that, the timing of this. And I want to go back to what you said before, which is, could we pass this item tonight as presented and then direct staff to continue to explore additional stipend for those who were not included fully this time, so that they would potentially get additional compensation later if we were able to find the funds. But so that if we approved it tonight, that would mean that people would at least get something. Those full-time would get the 1,500, those part-time would get the prorated, but then moving forward, district staff could explore how to be able to move the part-time people up, basically.
If I just may add, because I know that any fiscal person in payroll right now who's watching this is hyperventilating, because the amount of work that they need to do to get this done correctly the first time is going to be a great deal, and to try to then go back and reconcile and do everyone else a second way and make sure that that's done properly is going to be equally complicated.
I know one of the things that I think our intent as a board was to move this forward quickly, to be able to recognize people's work during COVID, to be able to do it in a way where all employees are included. And by doing it at, the $1,500 rate, even regardless of how much money you make, that's going to be a higher percentage for our lowest paid employees, right? So we're actually able to include some equity there. And wanting to be able to provide that this year was, I think, part of our intention. So I am a little bit concerned about delaying the entire thing at this point, because then people would not receive their checks until August, it sounds like. Other thoughts, trustees?
Well, just, if I may, I was just going to say, I would be in favor of the board getting this right. And if we have to delay it a couple of weeks, then, then I think I think that, that folks who are getting an extra stipend that maybe they didn't expect a few weeks ago or a month ago or something, I think they could do that. But I do want to be, cognizant of staff time and staff abilities. And I do, I feel uncomfortable, not being able to provide the board with all the information possible. And I know that this stipend, was the will of the board to show employees that we appreciate all of our employees. All of our employees, came forward and stepped up. And I know we didn't want to get into the business of deciding which ones contributed more or less or whatnot. And it was very difficult to find a way, is there a difference between an 8-hour employee and a 2-hour employee? That's all in the eyes of the beholder or whatnot. And we really didn't want to get into that debate, but we can definitely provide the board with more information, have everything broken down, what it would look like. And then the board could then make a decision either for or against or whatnot. So I would recommend, rather than rushing it or splitting it, which I know Dr. Gonzalez it would be impossible for the fiscal department to split it at this point. They either need to do all of it or none of it. And I don't think none of it is an option.
Okay, thank you very much. That explanation really helps in terms of the logistics of it, as well as what it is that staff could provide. Thank you, Dr. Clark.
And I can just add that my little worker bees are frantically texting, and what they're saying is that if one person gets 2 checks, it'll cause a total amount that is different than a single check due to the tax distribution and how it pulls.
We did it.
Okay,
So-
we're
so-
understanding that we don't want to do this twice.
And they're saying that it takes at least a month to do a separate check run and make sure that it is all accurate. So that's why you're looking at July.
So how about I do this? How about staff is going to pull this item and we will bring it back in 2 weeks?
All right, thank you very much.
Take it
Dr.
out of
Clark.
the hands of the board.
All right, item pulled, item 17.1 to be brought back at our next meeting. Thank you, Dr. Clark. All right, so that brings us back to our original point on the agenda, which is 13.0, which is the superintendent's report. You're on, Dr. Clark.
Till the room empties? Unless you want to stay. So I'll go ahead with my report. I apologize to the board for, for the confusion here, but I think, we'd rather get this right than go through it. Well, I'm gonna start my report off with some very good news, and that is that we are gonna honor our seniors this year who have matriculated through the Mount Diablo Unified School District with in-person graduations. And my heart goes out to those students who were unable to have a graduation last year, but I think due to the severity of the pandemic, that it was 100% appropriate not to have in-person graduations last year. But this year, we are proud to say that we are going to recognize our seniors. And I'm just, this information is posted, but I'm just going to real quickly go through it. Ignacio Valley High School will graduate 255 seniors on Thursday, May 27th at 7 p.m. at the Concord Pavilion. Olympic High School, which we're very proud of, they are going to graduate 123 seniors on Friday, May 28th at 3 p.m. And Mount Diablo High School is going to graduate 288 seniors on Friday, May 28th at 7 p.m. Concord Pavilion. And Concord High School / Summit will graduate 290 seniors on Saturday, May 29th at 5 p.m. And at Northgate High School, our own student board member will be participating in this ceremony, but we are going to be graduating a total of 350 students, but we will break them up into 2 sessions of 175 per session. And that will take place Sunday, May 30th at 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. And then Adult Ed, Horizons, Prospects, Crossroads will graduate 132 seniors on Tuesday, June 1st at 7 p.m. And last but not least, College Park High School will graduate a total of 470 students in 2 separate ceremonies of 235 apiece on Wednesday, June 2nd at 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. We are thrilled beyond belief that this is going to take place. I want to thank all of the staff that made this happen. I see Samantha Allen in the audience, and she is our director of secondary ed, and she really was instrumental in working with the Concord Pavilion and ensuring this experience for our students and families. Moving on, I wanted to briefly just give a plug for summer school. Again, summer school is going to run from June 7th to July 2nd. It's going to be a 3-hour-a-day program. Students sign up at their school sites, and we are still hiring staff and recruiting staff to work that. We've bumped pay at all levels, so if those out there who are listening, please come and work summer school. Also, there's going to be several summer projects taking place over the summer. We have painting, we have fencing going in, and we have some HVAC work that is taking place. That's a mix of several of our bonds and other work that will be happening. And I think some of those are actually on this agenda this evening, some of those bids. Next, I want to really recognize our counseling department under the direction of Stephanie Roberts and Jennifer Sachs. But last night, they completed the 5th out of 5 mental health webinars. The first one being social wellness, engagement, and support. The second one was students helping students, which I thought was very, very powerful. The third one was parent wellness and self-care. And the fourth one was recognizing when to get help beyond the home. And last night, they held their final one, which was anxiety and depression. And so again, as we all work through this pandemic, and in relation to our resolution we approved earlier this evening around mental health, I just cannot thank the counseling department enough for their professionalism and for their care and work in this area of really providing our families and students with some resources to help them. Another bit of good news that I'm very, very excited to announce is today we finalized a agreement with Contra Costa County Health and also Kaiser Permanente, and we will be hosting 3 different vaccination clinics on our school sites. We have the capabilities of administering 500 Pfizer vaccines per day, and these are through appointments and walk-ins, and these will be available for students 12 and above, and anyone above 12. So we are extremely excited about this opportunity. Concord High School will host 4 days from May 18th to May 22nd. So that's Tuesday through Saturday. And then we'll move over to YV High School, and they will go from May 24th to May 29th, Tuesday through Saturday. And then we will round out at Mount Diablo High School from June 1st to June 5th. And then we will repeat the cycle. So once you get the Pfizer, you got to come back in 3 weeks. And so they'll repeat that cycle. But Mr. Alvarado was working with the legal team from Kaiser to finalize our agreement on this. And so we're very, very excited to say that we have a temporary agreement in place that was just put together right minutes before this board meeting, and we'll be reviewing that and rolling that out. So very excited about these updates and the graduations, the summer school, and now being able to provide our students and community with vaccinations. It's just really a win-win for this board and for the district as a whole. So just want to share that bit of good news. That concludes my report until I talk about the fall, but are there any questions about my report about anything that I shared?
Thank you so much, Dr. Clark. That was very, so much good news. I can't wait to go to the graduations. I can't wait to see all the vaccinations that happen. This is just incredible. Trustees, other questions, comments?
I would like to share that I'm really excited to see in-person graduations coming together and coming to fruition. And I wanted to share that a couple of weeks ago, I was able, at my day job, I was able to supervise a senior picnic. And we had to follow kind of all the regulations, and it felt kind of shockingly normal. And I didn't know if that was just my perception. And I asked my students, and they said, yeah, that felt really normal. So I just wanted to just contribute that, because I think the graduation, I think it's going to feel pretty normal, and I think we really have that to look forward to. So I'm just really excited.
Great, absolutely. Yep, thank you.
I am also looking forward to graduation, needless to say.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. All right. Thank you, Dr. Clark.
Yeah, so in talking about fall, again, how we post this on the agenda is we put curriculum in there, day-to-day schedule, everything and anything. So we are on track to open fully in the fall for all students all day. I know that Governor Newsom will be coming out with new guidance on June 15th, and the way things are moving in the state in terms of vaccinations, we do not believe that his guidance will be more restrictive. We think that it will actually be less restrictive, and that as long as people continue to follow the guidelines and folks are getting vaccinated and keeping social distance as we're practicing in this room tonight, I really do not see that there's going to be any sort of backward slide that our county is going to take that would affect our ability to open for all students 5 days a week, all day. One other point I wanted to bring up was in terms of the virtual academy planning that's been taking place. We have completed our survey, and we have found from our survey that that the need for virtual schooling next year is not as great as we had anticipated. Instead of in the thousands, we're looking at low hundreds. And so the state, from the CDE and also from our state politicians, they really are not in support of creating a new virtual experience for students. They would like to see districts expand our independent study and our homeschooling programs. And so we are currently working with staff on that and examining those options to be able to find options for our families, for those students who have medical needs, or those students whose families are maybe out of work, or maybe they haven't been vaccinated yet, or maybe they are going through some sort of health problem. We would look at setting them up on some sort of short-term distance program, mainly through our independent study, our alternative programs. And then those students who have found that distance learning is a better fit for them, we would look at placing them in one of our long-term independent study homeschooling programs so that they can continue on with that throughout the year. But for those previous students that I spoke about, we would be giving those students the opportunity to participate in a distance program, but then also having the opportunity to stay connected with their home schools and return to their schools when their situations improve. So we don't see this as a year-long program. We see it more as a temporary until either county numbers continue to go down, vaccination rates continue to increase, and infection rates continue to decrease. So we're pretty excited about that. And, again, we want to be able to offer our families the best possible situation for them. But our goal, and the goal that is being shared with us from the state and the direction that we're receiving, is that our schools should be open 5 days a week, all day, for all kids. And so that's our process. We're in the process right now of doing staffing allocations in terms of enrollment. And I know that this is a tough time of year, as always, because you have some teachers that maybe have to move sites because one site might be decreasing in enrollment and another site might be growing. And so that's a process that we go through every year. And so I know that that's happening now. And sometimes that creates a little angst and anxiety, but we're only on May 12th and school starts August 2nd. So we have lots of time, but I would give a message to parents out there that if you're on the fence on whether or not you're going to re-enroll in our schools, or whether you've taken your student out and moved to a private school or whatnot, if you intend on coming back to the Mount Diablo district in the fall, then I would come and re-enroll at your home school, or you can do it online as well. But the quicker we get those those enrollment numbers up, the quicker we can assign staff to meet the needs of those students. But our practice, and it's every practice in every district, is not to assign staff where there are no students. So when we have students, we assign staff, and that's our practice, and we're going to stick to that. But the more information we get, then the more accurate we can be with assigning those staff members. Any questions or discussion that the board would like to have around fall 2021?
Thank you, Dr. Clark. Any questions, trustees? Or comments? Trustee Mayo?
One question I'm receiving is, when can parent groups begin their meetings on school campuses? And I hope that's in part of the planning for fall, or so you're probably going to say, stay tuned, but I know there's folks that are eager to be of assistance at school sites and also do planning so that how they can support the school next year.
Right, and so of course we partner with many of our fabulous parent volunteers and community volunteers, and as we're finishing out this school year, because of some of the agreements that we have and some of the safety protocols we have, we've had to, not have those volunteers on our campuses. But as we roll into fall, I see that we will be welcoming folks back onto our campuses, helping out in some capacity. I can't lay out what that capacity will be, but definitely they will be. We will need their services very soon.
Thank you, Trustee Mayo. Very good question. Yeah, I know it's been a question all year as to when parents can volunteer again and be on campus. So thank you for asking that. As well as for
Yeah.
parent meetings. Yes, exactly. So Dr. Clark, just one follow-up on that. So if the agreements go through June 30th, does that include summer school then, that parents would not be able to volunteer in any on campus for any of the summer schools?
Yeah, we usually don't. Yes, our agreement goes through summer school as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I believe Trustee Nzeri has a question. Is that right?
Yeah, I have a quick question, and also Trustee Nzui has one. Are we going to look into requiring or strongly suggesting that students 12 and up be vaccinated?
We currently at this point, we are we are only in the business of sharing information about the vaccinations and providing, creating partnerships with health departments and hospitals to provide vaccinations to our students and staff and communities. But we as a district at this point are not requiring or getting in, hopefully we're not going to get into the business of requiring vaccinations or checking that. Now we do require things like, TB tests and things like that, but those have gone through the systems for years. It's not a Mount Diablo decision on whether or not we do that. It's something that's mandated on us. And so at this point, I haven't heard anything about being mandated to require vaccinations of students and staff. We encourage it, but we're not going to require it.
Gotcha. And Trustee Nzui has a question as well.
Thank you, Trustee Ellis. You mentioned that the virtual option would likely go to the homeschooling, which is Horizon. And I just want to clarify, or if you know, would it actually be homeschooling as the option or distance learning just through Horizons? Meaning, will there be, teachers, or do the parents have to provide the teaching?
Right, so that is what we're working on at this point. And so if we did nothing, then it would be homeschooling where the parents would be providing the instruction for elementary students. And but they would be working with the teacher to develop that program. That's if we did nothing. It is not our intent to do nothing. We do want to, engage with our labor partners, work with finding best practices. And we really do want to keep some of the, the great things that we got out from distance learning. But at this point, we're still working that out. But our goal is not just to roll out the same program that we've always had. Our goal is to enhance it, to take advantage of the investment that we've made into distance learning.
Thank you. I think just to build on that, I know a couple of meetings ago, our board, voted and approved 3 options for the fall. It was full-time in-person, independent study, and the virtual academy. So I think what I'd like to do is offer a new motion tonight that discusses what you've been talking about here, which is to clarify that the 3 options for the fall would be full-time in-person, independent study, and then number 3 would be clear alternative options for students. So within the clear alternative options, the district, we would be providing direction to the district to provide a clear list of what those options are. We have some already in existence. The home study, in terms of independent study, we have home study, homeschool for K through 8 and independent study for 9 through 12. But I know we have other programs too. We have the home and hospital. We have the College Now program, which is kind of a very different experience for students as well. So I think what I would like to see is, as this is developed, one sort of go-to place that parents could go to see what are those alternative options that I could consider if I'm not sure about full-time and I've already gone to the information session about independent study. What are the all of the options? I know you've talked about holding an information session with the principal of Horizons, for
Right.
example, but
Right.
maybe to either include in that or in a different session to be able to also talk about those other options as well. Because I think a lot of people don't necessarily know about home and hospital. Does that make
Right,
sense?
but like home hospital, I just want to be clear, it's not like a choice. So you don't
Right,
just
right,
say,
right.
I'm going to go to home hospital. If you know, are a kid who's getting dialysis or something like that, and then they know, home hospital knows who it, but anyway, this isn't an action item, but I will take direction if the board would like us to come up with a list of our programs with resources and whatnot. I think that's something definitely that we can do. I know there's a lot of information on our website. And we can definitely make something that is very specific to fall 2021 and, where parents can go there and students can go there and gather information as well as staff. So I can definitely work with staff on making sure that we put that together.
All right, does that sound good to other trustees
I
as
would
well?
support having it readily available for parents to see online. I would hesitate to make a motion to say X, Y, and Z because it's our job to educate kids wherever they are, whatever they need. So that could be a moving target that changes all the time.
Yeah.
So that's just my thought.
And again, because it's not agendized as an action item, then I don't think that we can make a motion to do that, but I can definitely hear the direction from the board to provide this information and make sure that it's readily available. But Trustee Mason's absolutely right. We're going to educate any kid that walks through our doors, and that's what we do. And whatever program works for them, that's what we're going to hopefully find. So absolutely.
Other comments, questions? Okay.
So just in closing, I just want to say that earlier in my report, I did thank our counselors, but also I know that there were others that were involved, such as psychologists, behaviorists, things, those types of individuals, teachers, and there were lots of people that came together. So I didn't want folks to think that I'm not recognizing everyone. It's often hard to do, but we're going to need all these folks for fall 2021. And we're going to have students that come to us with many needs, and we're going to be ready to meet their needs wherever they are. But our expectation is that we're expecting the best out of our students, and we're going to be there to provide an excellent quality education for all students.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Clark. And I think also along those lines of the other programs, you listed out the graduations, and I'm not sure if I missed it, but I know there's a few other graduations aside from the main Concord Pavilion one. So we do have College Now, senior celebration. Is that right? Tuesday, May 25th at 6 p.m. And the Bridge Program drive-through ceremony, Wednesday, June 2nd at 10 a.m. And then the Adult Education High School graduation drive-through Saturday, June 5th at 10:30 a.m. I have that list because each of our board members will be speaking at any one of those graduations, along with the regular high school graduations. And you may see one or more of us at any of those graduations as well. So we're all really looking forward to each and every one of those programs.
Oh, we're so excited.
Thank you. All right. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda 14.0. We do have speaker cards on item 14.12, 13, and 14. So trustees, would you like to pull any items from the consent agenda before we move forward?
Oh, good.
Okay, so before we move forward, then we'll go through the speaker cards. So on 14.
Madam President, I would suggest that we approve the slate, and then on the items that we pulled, we'll hear those speakers and then do that next.
Right, so we need to pull the items that we have the speaker cards for then. I
Yeah, that
presume.
was
All right.
14,
that's what I
12,
was-
14, 13, 14,
Thank you.
14.
All 14, 12, I believe.
And 13 and
Oh,
14.
I see on that.
Yeah. So do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda with removal of items 14.12, 13, and 14? And are there any other items to pull?
Okay, I would make a motion that we approve the consent agenda with the removal of 1412, 1413, and 1414.
Second.
Okay, motion by trustee Mason, second by trustee McFerrin. We'll take that to a vote. Trustee Alla?
Yes.
Trustee McFerrin?
Yes.
Trustee Mason?
Yes?
Trustee Mayo?
Yes.
Trustee Nzewi?
Yes.
Also vote yes. Motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. So that moves us to item 1412. So we will go to our speaker cards. All right. First we have Randall Newton and then Matt Johnson.
Do you mind if we move the order a little bit?
Sure.
Alan Murphy speak first.
No problem. Alan Berkey.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Clark. My name is Alan Berkey, and I'm the president of George E. Masker, Inc. We are a District Council 16 signatory painting contractor. I'm also an alumnus of Bancroft Elementary School, Oak Grove Intermediate, and Ignacio Valley High School, class of 1982, senior class president. I grew up in the Mount Diablo district. I'm here tonight to bring to your attention 3 action items for your consideration on tonight's agenda. I need your help. 3 exterior painting bid packages, agenda items 14, 12, 13, and 14, are being recommended by staff to be awarded to other than the final bid response summary low bidder, George E. Masker, Inc. This is happening for one simple reason. I missed a post-bid email. I take full responsibility for missing the staff's email, my mistake. I subsequently corrected my error and reconfirmed all 3 of my low responsible bids over a week ago. Nowhere in the staff's post-bid email did they indicate that Masker would be disqualified for not responding or reconfirming our already confirmed bids. The instructions to bidders are quite clear, that signing the bid form in 10 different places constitutes bidder certification. This error, if awarded as recommended by staff, will cost the district an additional $197,600 for the exact same work. In addition, staff's recommendation is relying on an internal-only policy of reconfirming post-bid results via email only with no follow-up. This internal policy was not made known to me during the bidding process, nor is it included in the written instructions to bidders, and should not be the basis for award tonight. You know, my mom was a teacher in this district for almost 30 years. She taught me about leadership and that it is never too late to do the right thing. Tonight, you, the board, are going to award these projects. No award has been made yet, only staff recommendations. You have the authority to waive minor irregularities, and you have the opportunity to do the right thing here tonight, to do what is in the best interest of the district. I respectfully urge you to award these painting projects to Masker Painting. Please and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Berkey. All right. And next we have
Matt Johnson.
Matt Johnson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Dr. Clark as well. I thank you for this opportunity to speak before you. I'm a project manager at Masker Painting. We're responsible for feeding over 150 families weekly. Many of those families live here within this community. In addition to that, or more importantly, I am a proud Mount Diablo Unified School District parent. I've had 4 kids go through the district, 4 boys, mind you. 3 of them have walked across this stage, and one of them is in Miss Aston's class right now, 5th grade. Looking forward to another graduation. I have a lot invested into the district, and as a parent, I receive ongoing requests for support, whether it's from parent-teacher emails or through our parent support groups, where we know that the school needs help. We get requests for tissue paper, for wipes, crayons, pencils. Our teachers desperately need these things. Our children desperately need these things. I just got an email from Monty Garden's Elementary War Weekly newsletter, ironically just came across, asking for support due to their low funding from their book fair, which funds a lot of things that the teachers need. It would be disappointing to have the district spend an unnecessary $200,000 when our schools have such significant needs. I'd like to thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Good evening. My name is Randall Newton. Thank you for your time. I'm with District Council 16, Painters and Allied Trade. I'm actually a former employee of Masker Painting. Just here to say Maskers is a qualified union paint contractor. Maskers is one of the largest paint contractors in California, and Maskers has been hiring local workers, giving them retirement, livable wage, health benefits for over 50 years. Maskers provides a skilled and trained workforce. Maskers bid will save the school district almost $200,000 on each one if they're awarded all 3 projects. District Council 16, the IUPAAT supports Maskers and urge you to award all 3 of the bid packages to Maskers Painting. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Newton. I also have Curtis Day.
Good evening, Board, Superintendent. My name is Curtis Day. I'm an organizer for the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades. I've been an organizer for 20 years. I go to a lot of bid openings. I participate in compliance with LCPs and monitor work sites and interview workers to make sure that the standards are upheld for the state of California prevailing wage guidelines. I'm here to ask the board to award these 3 paint bid packages to Maskers Painting because from what I have researched the documents, they are the lowest responsive bidder. I don't know all the guidelines for this bid. I didn't review the whole bid packet, but clearly the documents that I could pull off your website, the final bid response summary did not recuse or put them in a non-responsive category. It's my understanding that one of the bidders that could potentially be awarded this, though, was non-responsive in one of the bid packages. They are a reputable contractor. I've been working with them for over 20 years in compliance and organizing. They do, in fact, pay their workers a livable wage with benefits, medical, and pension. I urge the board respectfully to award this work to Masker Painting, the lowest responsive bidder. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have one more card. Come on up.
Good evening. My name is Lanny Wilkins. I'm a glazer by trade. I've been in the construction industry for over 30 years. I've worked shoulder to shoulder with Maskers Painters on numerous projects, including school jobs, commercial buildings, and et cetera. They supply well-trained, quality work. It would be injustice to not have that quality and that training of employees on your jobs. I urge you to let them have that project. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And that is all of our cards for public comment for these items. I will now turn it over to Dr. Clark if there's any staff.
Yes, I'm gonna have staff come up and respond to any questions that the board might have. I don't know if we're prepared to to talk about that. Ms. Kozlow, can you address any questions that might maybe talk about the process?
Good evening again. So I've got Elizabeth coming up with me as obviously whenever we do our construction bids, we sort of work together. So the way that our process works is that we have, obviously we do our pre-construction job walks, sorry, our pre-bid job walks. We do public bids and then we always email for confirmation on construction bids. So as was previously stated in public comment, we did not receive a bid confirmation response. Therefore, moving on to the next bidder. So if Elizabeth has any other items to say, we also reviewed the situation when when Alan reached out to our offices last week. We did review the situation with Cesar as well to make sure that we didn't need to make any changes to our recommendation.
Okay, so your recommendation still stands as presented at this point?
It does, yes.
Trustees, any questions, comments? Trustee Mayo?
They're all looking at me because they think I know something about construction and I really don't. I did review the emails that you provided to us, and I appreciate the fact that you did indicate that you missed the email in your inbox, and I understand that you did not understand that staff communicated by email around this sort of thing. How many bidders were there in total for this particular project or these projects? Were there,
16 per bid.
16? I'm sorry, I'm having a little,
I think it was 15 to 16 per bid.
15 to 16.
Yes, so it
okay.
looks somewhere between 13 to 15 per bid, just
was it
per
13?
our summary Elizabeth had written
Right.
here. So
I appreciate
there are
that.
3 separate bid packages.
Right.
And so each one had between 13 to 15 bidders that,
Right.
responded.
And I know that the district has to be careful that when it's, I shouldn't say it, when you are trying to clarify bids, that you're not shopping the bids. And because that becomes a real legal issue. And is that why we communicate strictly by email first, or can you give some insight why we've chosen to use email versus a telephone call?
So I'm not 100% sure when we started the practice, but as far as I am aware, since I joined the district back in 2011, we have always confirmed bids via email. I think the reason that the practice started is especially on construction projects like this, where we have more than one bid, all of the same trade. It's very common for paving contractors, painting contractors, even general contractors to bid on multiple packages. And there have been situations in the past where a contractor has been the low bid on multiple packages, and maybe if they were bid on, bid differently, they wouldn't have been able to actually man all multiple jobs, that type of thing. So that is where the practice started back in 2011, or maybe that's when I was aware of it. And so how far before that, I'm unsure, but it's just been the practice that's in place. And again, it's just something that we've done since at least my knowledge at that point. And so again, we did review with legal counsel to make sure that we, didn't miss anything at that point.
So just for information, has Masker Painting bid on jobs in previous years for the district, or is this the first time that they've participated in our bidding process?
I believe in the past, but I don't have that information handy, but I believe they have done work with us in the past, or at least bid on projects with us. It's just not something that I'm aware of exactly which ones, or even if that, if they've been awarded projects in the past.
Um, the challenge I see is that the district is kind of in a no-win situation. If we award, follow staff's recommendation, then we have one firm that's unhappy with us. If we void staff's recommendation and use select Masker Painting as the award the contract to them, then the other contractors are going to be upset with it. It's a regrettable situation to be in, and I did look at Mr. Hunter's email that went to Mr. Berkey. It was dated on 4/13, and the request for response was 4/16. And I see that the first response back was on May 5th, if I'm looking at the emails correctly. So I appreciate your honesty there. The challenge is, do we abide by the process that has been used by the district at this point? in
And if
time?
I may. Can you hear me?
Yes.
If I may,
Oh, I apologize.
Part of the, as you indicated, there is other interested parties as well. There is a procedure by which a party can raise a protest over a particular bid, and there are requirements that need to be followed in order to do so, such as notifying the other contractors that there is going to be a protest raised over an award. In this case, my understanding is that those procedures were not followed. Now, it may be because there was no known notification, but there was notice provided to the other party that intend to award the bid. So there are, again, multiple parties interested. And you're right, it puts us in a position where we may, because we have a lack of procedure following raising the protest of the bid, this is in the middle where we may be subject to litigation as well with one party or the other.
Could you pull up the attachment on item 1412 there? Are you able to do that? So then, yeah, the opening summary. Okay. So this is what we've seen on each of the three bids is like this one where Masker is the lowest bid and is not listed under non-response. So to me, that seems like our procedure would be to award to Masker, aside from this email situation. So that's.
Could you repeat that? I couldn't quite hear you.
So looking at this, and then if you click on the same attachment for 1413 and 1414, in each of the bid lists, Masker is the lowest bid, and it's not written down below as a non-response, like some others are. And actually, in fact, in the next attachment, I do recall that C&J was a non-response or had pulled their bid for, I believe, 1413. So, so to me, that's just looking at the bids and the lowest bid being our standard, it looks to me like Masker is the lowest bid for all three. I would also like to ask, although I know I don't know that it's in our policies or procedures at the moment, but of the companies here, or the companies that are being awarded, do we know which of these are union and which ones are not? That doesn't list it when it's presented to us.
Yeah, we don't normally list if they're union or non-union. All contractors are required and sign documents within their bid packages that they will follow the DIR for prevailing wage and necessary requirements. But we do not have a current PLA or anything like that. So we do work with both union and non-union, just whoever the lowest responsible bidder is. And I just want to say, I think if we scroll just a tiny bit, there might be a little added scope on here. Or maybe not, never mind.
If I may,
Trustee Mason.
It's not that I don't trust staff, but I just get really hesitant about trying to make a decision like this when there's legal consequences and we've heard one story and another story. I would rather to get more information and bring it back next month. So we can all feel comfortable about whatever decision. we
Yeah,
make.
just to keep in mind, anytime we bid summer, or
I
sorry,
know.
bring summer contracts to award, I do believe that, whether it be Masker or our other recommended vendors, they hopefully will be able to still work on our timeline. And, we'd be happy to work with, either, obviously. And so that is something that we could do.
Appreciate it.
I realize I haven't been looking in this direction of the table. Other comments? Trustee McFerrin.
I feel similarly to Vice President Mason. I don't feel comfortable making a decision on that at the moment.
Is there particular information you would like us to come back with?
Could you repeat the question?
Is there particular information that you would like us to come back with specifically? Were you thinking of something specific?
Trustee Nzewi.
Go ahead.
Oh gosh, sorry, listening to different. My question is there, I agree, I don't feel comfortable making a decision either because I feel so confused. Because there are these two different sides, and I'm curious if there is a solution. When you come back, is there a solution that makes it so that the district doesn't have to pay $200,000 more than expected?
So one option always is that the district has the right to reject all bids and rebid. Just keep in mind, we would not be able to hit our summer construction timeline if we did that. However, we are open to that if that was the direction of the board. We would just push these schools to next summer. And, we would still be able to manage it at that time.
I'd also like to see what possible litigation on both sides could happen. So maybe that's legal counsel. Yeah.
That would be something that doesn't.
Microphone.
Right. Okay.
Microphone.
Issues regarding litigation will be something that would be discussed in closed session, not in open session.
I guess to answer your question, Melanie, I would like to have more examples of where something similar has happened, that this is our usual practice, why it happened that way, if moving forward, if we could change things so it makes it better. But I just kind of need to know, did we pick someone that was on the non-responsive? And if we did, why? And they're not on it, and we didn't pick them at the lowest bidder. I'm no expert in this, but I thought government agencies, if you will, are supposed to take the lowest bidder. So that's the kind of information and clarity I need. I don't think either side is telling us anything that's not true. I think they both have different perspectives, and I just want to make sure we're careful about the decisions we make. I don't care if anybody gets mad at me as far as that, as long as I know I'm making a decision that's very informed and is best for the district. So.
Yeah, we look forward to bringing you back some more information.
Okay, so I don't believe that there's any motion on the table this evening for items 14, 12, 13, and 14. We will look for information to come back.
C&J Painting is a signatory contract.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much. Very good, thank you. Thank you very much for coming to speak tonight. Appreciate it.
So should I watch my emails and get correspondence?
Wouldn't hurt. On our next agenda.
Thank you.
Okay, Moving on to business items, we already covered 17.1. So 17.2, review and potential approval of revision of job description, DMA Classified Management, Director of Maintenance and Operations.
We're going to have Dr. Rubio and Dr. Gonzalez tag team this item.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. We're here regarding a realignment, really, I believe, of this job description. So this is for your review and potential approval of a more updated and aligned job description for the Director of Maintenance and Operations position.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Do we have a motion?
Are you gonna make a motion? Go ahead.
I was going to make a
Go
motion.
for it.
Okay, I would move that the board adopt the new job description for DMA Classified Management Director of Maintenance and Operations.
Thank you. Do we have a second? I will second to move the process along. Alrighty. I believe there is some discussion. Go ahead, Trustee Mason.
For me personally, I am not inclined to vote for this because we're supposed to be having the STICMAT report come to us about how efficient our facilities and maintenance and operation is. So I would hesitate to approve this, and then they come back and say, well, this is what you really need. So that's why I'm not going to be supporting this.
All right, other discussion? Trustee Mayo?
I did not understand that FICMEC would be advising us on the job descriptions and specific duties of the people and positions that we have. Perhaps Ms. Mason had a different conversation with the FICMEC folks.
I haven't talked to FICMAT, but what I'm told is what I was told is they're going to come in, they're going to look at it, they're going to see how efficient it is. And I would think part of that is if like you don't have the right staff in the right place, you're not being very efficient. So I don't know. I'm no expert on FICMAT, but I'm just going to wait out their report.
Okay, thank you. I would think we could make additional changes at that point in time. Other trustees?
And I just wanted to clarify, I know that FICMAT is currently interviewing trustees and staff at this point, but that is around the fiscal department and you know, our fiscal strength as a district. The M&O study hasn't happened yet, so that will be happening. And when they come in, they'll go through the same process. They will interview staff. They will look at, you know, they'll look at our operations and whatnot. But I don't know if they will go into the job descriptions. They're gonna definitely look at personnel, but I'm just not sure if they're gonna go into job descriptions, so to speak.
So may I ask a better question?
Yes, Trustee Mayo.
Can you describe the major differences between the former job description and the one that you are proposing?
Yes, so we started by going to Human Resources, and we got a copy of the Director of Facilities, Maintenance, and Operation. And when we created the Director of Facilities and Bonds, we knew that we needed to go back and update the other director position. So all we did was we took the original position from 2006. We took out the responsibilities for transportation because it is not involved with that. We took out the responsibilities for facilities that are now part of another job entirely. And we kept everything else the same with the exception of the requirements. It's the ADA requirements that we also put in to be consistent with the rest of our job descriptions. Excuse me, I believe the other thing that we did, this is a newer practice in the district, but we also identify essential functions with ease, and these are identified as the main things that one can be expected to be solely responsible for.
Right. Thank you very much. I believe this aligns with previous decisions then with the, so that it fits well with the previously approved Director of Facilities and Bonds then, yes? All right, great. Let's take that to a vote. Trustee Alas.
Yes.
Trustee McFerrin.
Yes.
Trustee Mayo.
Yes.
Trustee Mason.
Nope.
Trustee Nzewi.
Oh, yes.
I also vote yes. Motion passes 4-1 with concurrence from our student board member. Thank you very much. All right, that takes us to 17.3, public hearing and adoption of the Mount Diablo Unified School District Special Education Local Plan Area, SELPA, Local Plan, Service Plan, Budget Plan, and Amendments. So we are now opening our public hearing at 9:14 p.m. All right, got to use that gavel, very exciting. Are there any public comments at this public hearing? All right. Seeing none, this is an item for action. I will close the public hearing, thank you. All right, now we'll move on to the action item. Yes, I understand that there have been a lot of public involvement at the committee level and development of this plan, and perhaps that is why there is no more comment this evening. All right, so do we have a motion on the table? Is there a staff presentation?
There's no yeah, we have staff who's available to answer questions, but everything was included in the item.
Yeah, I was just going to do the motion first and then move to discussion, but you can ask questions first if you'd like. Come on up.
No, I don't have a question.
Oh, okay. Just a summary then would be helpful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. This is part of something that we do every year as our own SELPA, and that's the service and budget plans. They're required to be completed annually. And what they do is they allocate the amount of funds that are received. In previous years, the funds were just allocated between the different types of programs. However, the forms were updated about 2 years ago that now we also allocate them across salaries for classified and certificated and benefits and those things. It's more transparent across the state as the state is moving towards the one child, one system, right? And then 2 years ago, they came out with a new regulation that districts also had to update their policies and procedures on a regular basis because the system of SELPAs across the state does not necessarily align neatly with county offices of education. Some of them are single districts, some of them are multi-district, some of them are tied to county offices of education, some are not. We happen to be a single district SELPA. There's 4 in Contra Costa County, 3 of which are single district, and then the 4th one encompasses all of the other smaller districts within our county. So this local plan that is new, that you'll be seeing every 3 years, is basically a summary of our board policies and our district policies as they relate to the provision of special education services for students. The next time you'll get this required to be updated would be either in 3 years or when there's significant legislative changes affecting special education, such as the change this year that required us to have increased oversight over our non-public schools, those types of major changes. Or should we have major changes to our board policies internally, then that would also trigger us to update this document at that time. But other than that, everything else is presented within the packet, and I'm happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have any questions? Any questions? All right, do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we adopt the Mount Diablo Unified School District Special Education Local Plan Area. Do we need all this? I guess local plan, service plan, budget plan, and amendments and attachments.
Thank you. Trustee Mason, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, motion by Trustee Mason, second by Trustee Mayo. We'll take that to a vote. Trustee Ella.
Yes.
Trustee McFerrin.
Yes.
Trustee Mason.
Yes.
Trustee Mayo.
Yes.
Trustee Nzewi.
Yes.
I also vote yes. Motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right. Okay. 17.5, review and potential approval of the updated facility use fee structure. Dr. Clark.
Yeah, I'm gonna have, the staff is available to answer any questions on this, but I believe that, you know, we have been talking about this for some time. Our, facility use agreement rates needed to be updated to be more in line with what, with what our, facilities deserve. And so I know staff has done a great deal of work in this area, and so they're here to answer any questions, but the recommendation is before the board.
Thank you. Any questions, trustees?
Oh, and you know what? We actually skipped one. We should be, I'm sorry. Oh, I know. We should be 17.4.
Excuse me about that.
Sorry.
All
I
right.
mean, we do have them up here, so I mean, if we want to, you
Shall we
know,
just complete this while we're here? It doesn't appear that there are any questions.
All right.
All right. So do we have a motion on the table for item 17.5?
For Cesar, then for the, at one time, we talked about relooking at what we charge our daycares. That is not part of this, correct?
That is correct. So we are taking it step by step because given that we have contracts that are
Right.
still ongoing, we need to.
Just
address it.
reminding, it's still there, right?
Yes.
Okay.
We're hoping that's ready for the next meeting, if not the beginning of June. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the updated facility use fee structure.
Second?
All right, motion by trustee Alla, second by trustee McFerrin. Any other discussion? We'll take that to a vote. Trustee Alla?
Yes.
Trustee McFerrin?
Yes.
Trustee Mason?
Yes?
Trustee Mayo?
Yes.
Trustee Nzewi?
Yes.
I also vote yes. Motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. Thank you very much.
I would be remiss if we didn't thank Janet Richardson, who I'm sure is watching out there somewhere or listening, for all of her hard work. All of the detail you see in all of these spreadsheets comes straight from her, and we are very fortunate to have her diligence. And you can see from the number of pages here, this took an awful lot of time. So kudos to her. Thank you.
Question. When will these fees commence? Is it tomorrow or July 1st? I
July
did not,
July 1st, excuse me, June.
well, wait a minute.
Well,
The agenda is June 1st.
the agenda says June 1st,
Okay,
which typically makes the most sense because that's when you start working with people who want to use your facilities over the summer. So it's harder to do fiscal year as opposed to all of summer, because otherwise you're splitting rates in the middle of summer.
so you're looking at the information that's on the. I missed that on the docket then. Just make sure that we have a time certain,
Yes.
please. We will, thank you.
All right, thank you. Item 17.4, public presentation of the initial successor agreement proposal for the clerical, secretarial, and technical unit, CST Local 1, to Mount Diablo Unified School District, MDUSD, and MDUSD's initial successor agreement proposal to CST.
So this is just being brought for your information tonight. We'll bring it back at the next meeting for action. CST wishes to apologize. They had some prior functions this evening and could not be here to answer any of your questions. But I can answer any questions you have about the district proposal, and I can try and channel Carmen if you have any questions about the CST proposal.
Trustees, it's open for questions.
All right, no questions. We'll bring it back again at the next meeting for action.
All right, thank you very much. Okay. All right, everyone, I believe we hit all business items. If I didn't jump ahead, thank you. All right, that takes us to board member reports. Who would like to begin? Trustee Alas, would you like to start us out?
Absolutely. Hello to our dwindling crowd. First of all, happy Day of the Teacher. I know that's today, recognized today, in California at least. I know many board members actually attended the mascot change meeting hosted, I believe, about a week ago in regards to changing the indigenous symbols that are often attributed to the warrior mascot at Ignacio Valley High School. I'm strongly in support myself of changing that, seeing as it would allow for greater and better representation of indigenous cultures. And that is a completely student-led movement at Ignacio Valley. They gave a very comprehensive presentation and explained exactly why they wanted to change the mascot and what they would do to see that through. So that was great to see, and I'm happy to see momentum there, and hopefully that's going to continue. Over the past couple weeks, I've also been meeting with avid teachers. I also went to a history social science department chair meeting in regards to the state seal of civic engagement, creating the criteria. We have a very comprehensive Google site for the state seal with a timeline. Shared it with Dr. Clark a bit ago, and it has the suggested criteria, mission statement, and also a suggested board resolution to hopefully be passed either in early June or sometime soon to be implemented by the beginning of next year, so that students are going to be able to receive that recognition for the state seal. So that is absolutely in the works. Civic engagement is something that I'm absolutely very passionate about. And I know that there were many board members who also attended the Gen Up Civic Engagement webinar. I hope you all liked that as well. We had Dr. Weber there, as well as Superintendent Thurmond, and talking about the importance of being civically engaged and motivating our students to be as civically engaged as possible and providing those opportunities. So that was also very fun. The Student Advisory Committee for the Mount Diablo Education Foundation is going to be opening up applications soon. So we are a group of students dedicated to promoting, for example, events such as the Slam Poetry Night, the Science Fair, the Contra Costa Science and Engineering Fair, promoting STEAM-related activities for students. So that is completely student-led as well, student-run, and we're going to be opening up applications soon. So I'll be providing more information on that as well. I know the SBM position, my position, is going to has applications opening soon as well. For the past couple weeks, and I believe next week is my last week, I have been at the Monument Crisis Center every Wednesday talking to families. I've been talking to a lot of Spanish-speaking families who have kids in MGSC and kids in the Monument Crisis Center after school tutoring program. And I asked them, have your students returned back to hybrid learning? Did you fill out the survey? How are your students faring? And what I heard from a lot of parents is that their students during distance learning, students that really used to love learning, have really been struggling to turn on their cameras and keep up their grades, and that 2-hour block that they have been able to go back to school has helped them immensely. And all of them have said that they are planning and have filled out the survey. They're planning to send their child back 5 days in person. So these are English language learners, pretty vulnerable communities, and planning on sending their children back completely in person. So I heard some feedback from them and uplifting feedback as well about how their children are faring and the plan for next year. So I'll be there next Wednesday is my last day. And I think Trustee Cowan is going to speak about this as well, but if you go to ed100.org, student leaders can sign up for the Ed100 Summer Academy. I went to it last year. I was an exhibitor last year, and it's an incredibly well done conference talking about California education system, how you can be a student leader in California's education system, in the classroom, outside the classroom, in your community. So it'd be a great opportunity for any student to attend, really, and I believe it's free. Yes, so that is a great opportunity for students. And then I got this from Trustee Cowan as well, so she might talk about it later. But the California Climate Action Corps Summer Fellowship Program is accepting applications for fellows. And it places more than 200 AmeriCorps fellows for a summer of service with public agencies, tribes, nonprofit organizations, colleges, and universities throughout the state to help communities meet their climate action goals. So I know trustee Count is probably going to talk about that as well. No? Oh, okay, cool. Cool. So you can go ahead and find that on climateactioncorps.gov is the link. I believe that's it from me. Thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you, trustee Ella. We'll alternate sides of the table. How about trustee Mayo? Did I surprise you?
I want to, I know probably all of you are on the Medea Academy Awards call and want to congratulate Medea for having a very successful and outstanding ceremony. It was, of course, as you know, virtual. I want to share my congratulations to all the award recipients and the more than 180 nominees. So the number of nominees does not diminish because I've helped coordinate the certificates for those, for the nominees, and it's typically in events like this, you see the number of nominees dwindle over time, and that number has remained consistent. So I think that's something to be said for our district, and that folks are very proud of one another and the work that they're doing. And I want to thank Medea for providing that opportunity to our for our district as a celebration. On the 29th and 30th of April, I participated in the San Ramon Valley Council of PTA's Advocacy Day. There were many excellent panels, and the PTA Council for San Ramon has posted the videos of the panels on their website. And if you're interested, I think you might be interested in the PTA president's inspiring message around, yes, we've worked hard and we need to take a moment to breathe and restore ourselves and then tackle the next agenda. It was very eloquent. There was a panel of superintendents and legislators. And of course, one of my favorites is the PTA positions on current legislation. I attended the CAC meeting on May 4th. And on May 5th, I participated in the Ledge Advocacy Day with CAC members, where we participate in the state SELPA day. There was the participants were Dorothy Weisenberger, Denise Lambert, Natalie Karas-Ivankovich, Janine Payne, Lisa Buffum, Heather Martin, Rachel Levy, 2 board members from San Ramon, and Dr. Aguili, of course. We had a morning presentation and a posthumous honor for a Fremont advocate, Frida Almaty, who passed away in a fire when she was trying to rescue her autistic son. This woman was very amazing, not only in the special education circles, but also in the Fremont Council of PTA's circle. So I knew her through that group. With representatives from the CAC, we met with representatives of Member Grayson's office and Senator Glazer's office, and we discussed 5 bills primarily, and I'll just give you the names because we don't want to spend a lot of time. AB 126 by Garcia is Special Education Programs and Family Empowerment Centers on Disability. AB 967 by Frazier, Special Education COVID-19 Special Education Fund. SB 237, Portotino, this is Special Education Dyslexia Risk Screening. And SB 639, Durazo, Minimum Wages for Persons with Disabilities. On Saturday, many of us were at the White Pony Express event at Mount Diablo High School, heard a lot of good music from the 2 schools and enjoyed the event. And what we want to say, items were distributed to over 500 families who came to the event. And then on Monday, we participated in the Business Education Alliance meeting from 4 to 6 p.m. There was a review of the accomplishments since January, including Best Day. And then everyone broke into sector groups with the industry partners, did some review of goals and budget planning for next year. So it's been a busy 2 weeks. Thank you.
All right, thank you, trustee Mayo. So we go this way, trustee McFerrin.
All right, good evening, everyone. I attended the Gen Up webinar co-hosted by our very own trustee Alice on May 4th. It was to announce the formal launch of the student-led civic engagement pledge. It was recorded and placed on Gen Up's YouTube page. So if you missed it, I invite you to watch it there. Both California Secretary of State, Dr. Shirley Weber, and in California State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Tony Thurmond, as well as California State Board of Education student member Zaid Fatah spoke, among others. In particular, I really appreciated Dr. Weber's comments about how students are not only impacted by their educational experience while they're students, but the opportunities that they have for the rest of their life are based on their experience as students. And so that just really resonated with me, and it was just a good reminder the impacts that we have on students while they're ours in our TK through 12 system. In the last couple of weeks, I was able to attend 2 meetings about the efforts to change the logo and mascot at YV. I appreciate the thoughtfulness that the students put into their presentation and that they worked with Native activists who shared their perspectives on Native mascots and concerns facing their communities today. Also, last Tuesday, I attended the last CAC meeting for the school year. We received a great update on the ADR, which is the Alternative Dispute Resolution Program, and the ADR conference, which was held virtually this year. Like trustee Mayo mentioned earlier, a lot of the folks from the CAC were gearing up for a long day of advocacy for students the next day with Ledgelet Day. And I just have really enjoyed being a part of the CAC. This is a group of people who are really, really invested in their children and our children in general in the district. Last Wednesday, I attended the ABAR subcommittee meeting. We looked over and considered different structures for building this group. And looked at some other existing community district groups such as DLAC, the BAC, the CAC, and kind of saw how they were structured just as kind of models for what the ABAR committee could be. And then we spent some time in breakout groups to refine and organize kind of our existing goals and to provide input on a structure for this group. Like several others, I attended the Medea Academy Awards last Thursday. I was really impressed by the speeches, and it was wonderful to see so many community members, staff members of various groups, teachers being recognized. And I'm just really, really proud of the work that we're doing kind of in all positions in our staff this year. It was kind of a proud moment. Also, I just wanted to let everyone know that at our last board meeting, we approved a resolution recognizing Classified School Employees Week. And this is going to be next week, the 16th through the 22nd. And I just want to say that I know, and I think every teacher knows, that our classified members play a central role in the success of our students and our schools. This has been an unprecedented year, and our classified staff has stepped up to new challenges. And I can't really, I think what they do for us is really an exhaustive list. So I just want to really thank our classified staff, for their special week next week. I also want to say last that I was able to attend the Business Alliance meeting yesterday. And one of the highlights for me was getting to see some videos of students talking about the programs that they're in. They really are involved in a variety of programs, but all students really talked about how the work that they're doing is very relevant to them in their lives now and moving forward in the careers that they will choose. And so that was really fun to see. And that is all I have to share this evening.
All right, thank you very much. So we'll go to trustee Mason and trustee Nzewi, you'll be next. So we haven't forgotten about you. So you can get ready with the delay. Go ahead, trustee
Mostly
Mason.
repetition. I went to the White Pony event. I don't think any of you mentioned our governance and equity training. Wasn't that the day after our last meeting? That was very interesting. The mascot meeting, Jenna, good job over there, trustee Alof. Went to the Capital Advisors. I don't know if anyone had a session on financing. I listened into that. I went to the PTA Ledge session that the San Ramon PTA put on. That was very interesting. Went to the CTEC meeting. Attended Dr. Clark's Bay Point meeting. Good job, Dr. Clark. And I think that's about it. That's enough.
All right, thank you very much. All right, trustee Nzewi, do we have you?
Trustee Nzewi?
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Happy Day of the Teacher. Looking ahead, happy Classified Workers Week next week. And to all the parents of tweens and young teenagers, happy vaccinations are available for us all day. They are available on almost every website right now to get an appointment. So I encourage, there's about just under 30 people still with us online. So if that's any of you or anyone you know, please spread the word, because besides the on-site ones Dr. Clark mentioned over the next 3 weeks, which is amazing and awesome, almost every other vaccination site in our county, but definitely in our district cities, have plenty of Pfizer vaccines. So it was not very hard. It was not hard at all to get an appointment. Speaking of vaccinations, La Clinica reached out to me because they have a mobile vaccination capability, and they saw, if you notice, there's like lots of appointments available, that all of us adults who were ready and raring to go have pretty much gotten our vaccines. So they are available to do it. So they wanted to partner with our school sites. Luckily, they will be meeting for the first time with Crossroads staff to help, because that staff had always, I loved it, always wanted to bring flu vaccination to the campus, and which is also very accessible to the greater community. And so they will be talking about COVID vaccines and other potential partnerships that will go, including the vaccines that would go into the fall. I've spoken in the last 2 meetings about having a parent listening session for parents from Afghanistan, and I think it's finally happening this Monday, which is after Eid, as was mentioned in one of the public comments. So happy Eid to our Muslim students and staff and parents and our whole community. But that listening session is happening on Monday, and I'm really excited about that because as we see in our CCE report, as we hopefully see in our LCAP plan, and as we see in the establishment of ABAR and the long-established equity team at the district, we want to be a district that is inclusive. And I feel strongly in that myself and feel it's a very important value. And so I want to thank all of the staff who did a yeoman's job of taking our board meeting on the road next door today and doing everything they can to make it accessible through public comment. And I hope, though, that my fellow trustees would want to work to ensuring that our meetings remain as inclusive as they've been able to be in this year that we've been distanced. We had a high of 80 folks on watching on Vimeo, which I think is amazing for before times, even before COVID. And we have about 30 now. But what's missing from this Vimeo is the simultaneous translation, and there's no captioning. And for the people who couldn't make it down because of transportation, because of childcare issues, if they wanted to come live and speak, or because they are working. There's so many reasons that people don't come to our meetings. And while I know that in the future, it may be that we have very poorly attended meetings, live or online, I think that if we do the job that we really want, which is to improve our district's communication, improve our transparency, and really engage all facets of our community, if we build it, they will come. And so I look forward to continuing a push to make these meetings as accessible as possible, because we've shown and across the country, across our state, that we can meet distance. People can comment from a distance, and we can then guarantee, hopefully, a more diverse set of voices speaking up, because that's the only way we can really make the best decisions and to ponder all viewpoints and all sides. So with that, thank you.
All right, thank you, trustee Nzebi. We're just getting some feedback on the mic. Okay, all right. Oh, thank you. Okay, there we go. All right, so lastly, I'll keep it short because you all covered so much great stuff that we all went to. You know, yes, Medea Academy Awards were amazing. I encourage everyone to look at the list of nominees and winners and watch the video that's online. Excited to see again one of our students recognized as the volunteer organization, which happens fairly often, I think. Sina Fahardi, who started LEAP MDUSD, that matches student tutors with homeless and foster youth who needed extra academic help, especially during COVID. So that was a pretty exciting win, and really every story that was shared there was an example of excellence in our district. So really appreciate that. Also want to appreciate Dr. Gonzalez posting the Ask the CBO videos. The most recent one from last week was a call to action. So people can go and watch it and actually take some action to halt unemployment insurance hikes, which would be incredibly costly to our district. And we could fund all kinds of amazing things with the amount of money that could be going instead to insurance. Thank you to White Pony for all that you do with our district to partner and ensure that students get fed. That is where I met the governor's staff on climate action, where he told me about the internship opportunities. So, you know, these partnerships across our state and across governmental entities are always great opportunities. And one of those internships actually through climate action will be right here with White Pony. And they are looking for local candidates. So local students, don't forget to apply for these internships. They are looking for people who are local right here to pay this summer. So yeah, and a couple of things scheduled that are coming up that I'm excited about. Dr. Clark has done a really great job building relationships with our various cities, our mayors. And so there's a meeting coming up with mayors and city clerks, and Vice President Mason and I will attend along with Dr. Clark with all the major cities that are in our school district, the mayors and the city clerks. So really looking forward to that and continuing those partnerships. We also heard from La Familia, who received county funding to provide substance abuse treatment and prevention in our area and potentially even at our schools. So that's another, looks like potential partnership for our schools as well and for our students. And I too am very excited to see the approval of the COVID vaccine for ages 12 to 15. That's the age of my kids. So I've got to go home and sign them up for those appointments. I hope everyone else will too. You know, the more of us that get vaccinated, the more we can continue the sports and the schools and safely hold our graduation ceremonies that we're all looking forward to, and to really fully open schools this fall. So thank you, everyone. And on that note, That moves us to future agenda items, 21.1. Are there any future agenda items that anyone wanted to note tonight?
A follow-up mental health resolution.
Mental health resolution. Thank you, trustee Ellis. All right, anything else?
We have 4 items that were pulled this evening that we'll be bringing back.
That is correct. Thank you, Dr. Clark. All right, very good. All right, and with that,
Just in closing, can I just make one announcement, quick
please, Dr.
announcement? I just want to thank the staff that put this together. You know, Laura was really the organizer of this, but, I came over here today, there were five vans out hooking things up, and we got people here tonight behind the scenes who are working, and obviously our tech team who's with us. And I want to thank this board for taking this chance and moving to in-person meetings for our audience and for our stakeholders, and really setting the example that we expect our staffs and students and parents to follow. And I think that we implemented safety precautions tonight. I think everyone wore their masks and kept a distance, and just really want to again just thank the board, but mainly thank all the staff that it took to put this together. And we're very appreciative of that. So thank you.
thank you very much, Dr. Clark. And yes, thank you to all staff. This ran so smoothly, and we had access both in person and remotely. It's really incredible what we can do. So really appreciate that. And it was so great to really be able to see people and look them in the eye, both trustees and the audience as well. So thank you. All right. So with that, we will adjourn this meeting at 9:49 p.m. Thank you.